Okay, testing one, two, three. Are we live? I think we're live. We've got to switch over the mic cable. Uh-oh. Wait a second. We're not ready to go, chat. I just realized the mic's not even plugged in. I was like, hey, yo, we've got to just go with the computer mic. Can we take a quick scan of the studio and make sure we are good to go here? But hey, yo, we will, I guess, get the official setup live and well. Hey, typical stumbling start for a REMINGTOM pod. I mean, what do you expect, Chad? I mean, just a little IT issues and some basketball analysis. I don't know if that'll be our new slogan going into 2026, but here we go. It's like the little pre-intro. I guess we don't have an intro that we're gonna roll here. Just firing up the right microphone. Hey, yo. Testing one, two. I guess we gotta actually switch it over. Wait, IT, get the testing. What? Okay, are we there? We're live. We're locked and loaded and ready to go. Hey, yo, ready to tackle the sports world, chat. Of course, with the steaming hot takes of the REMINGTOM pod. Hey, yo, I don't know where even I guess we got some light NBA hoops tonight, or just maybe some light hoops in general. It's sort of a middle of the road type night. It does seem like a lot of games they're just getting the slate out of the way. It's like just playing all the games at the same time. And I guess I don't know if they're going into the weekend. I guess they're just getting ready for the NBA Cup. More of the NBA Cup action. It is what it is. But little college basketball as well, too. Gonzaga just working Kentucky right now. Hey, yo, it's a 24-point game as the second half gets started up here. Gonzaga 49, Kentucky 50, at least on our ESPN, on the Sling TV feed. I guess, well, we got the NBA scoreboard up here in the background. I mean, like we said, we're on the eve of the championship games for the college football playoffs. Penn State's bringing in Matt Campbell. I mean, we're just ripping through the news right here. But hey, there's a lot of places, of course, we could venture off for the start of the show. I don't even know if we could, or I don't even know if we considered Matt Campbell for Penn State. I wouldn't say that we're, maybe the best at like conjuring up a list like that. The conjuring, maybe if we were using a little bit more of some of those powers, maybe we could think of a list. I'm not sure. But, as I don't know, we use our conjuring powers to think of college football coaching candidates. I don't even know what that would look like a conjuring hot take type of show. I don't even know like horror movies that well. I mean, I'm sure there is some like horror movie sports hot take like parody thing that you could do. It maybe is a little difficult because like Michael Myers doesn't speak, so I don't know what his what is his hot take. He just like rips through the studio and just like fights Perkins and like over the takes. Just like if he likes a take, I guess he doesn't fight Perk, but if he does, all of a sudden Perk's gotta Perk's gotta get the sword out. Hey, yo, we're on ESPN, or this show's on ESPN, but pause. But I guess I don't know. Like I said, we don't know the history of the horror. Maybe it would have to be more with some of the monster type characters. Like we've seen, of course, with those movies being remade. We had the Nosferatu, the Frankenstein movie this year. So maybe there's something with like a Nosferatu, Frankenstein. Is that just the NBC halftime show, chat? Hey, yo, Nosferatu and Frankenstein hanging out, just talking about football. Maybe it seems like that sometime. I don't know. Shout out. Is Dungy like a Nosferatu type character at points? Maybe, I don't know. Hey, yo, we tread lightly, but still. And then I guess would Garrett be the Frankenstein character? I don't know, but I guess they're maybe it's just a bunch of, I guess they don't, I don't know if they're really like a Nosferatu type, because would Nosferatu have takes on the show? I don't know. I feel like maybe he actually would maybe monologue a little bit. I'm not sure if he would, he might, I don't want to say be good at it. Hey, yo, of course, shout out our Coach Dungy, Hall of Famer, greatest coach in the history of the Colts, got us a Super Bowl. I guess we'd have to go back and think of some of the older. Who was the coach that was with Unitas? I forget. Was Marcha? Was there like a Ted Marchibroda or something back then? I guess, is it more arguable that Unitas is the greatest quarterback in Colts history? I mean, it's just for the the legacy. I mean, of course, we all know Manning. Hey, yo. It is what it is. You want to start talking about, is Unitas sort of the godfather of the quarterbacks? I guess maybe that could be true. That could be true for sure. Of course, if Brando had to play a quarterback in a biopic, would he play Unitas? I'm not sure. But hey, yo, I don't know, how we got from there from Matt Campbell to Brando playing Johnny Unitas in a biopic. But either way, Matt Campbell's going to Penn State. So shout out. That is a hiring that it does feel like pause. It does feel like a good hiring because, again, you're moving on from James Franklin, and I know there is a world where you put maybe like the blind resumes up on a, you do like two graphics, like, oh, which coach has got to go, this coach has never won versus a top five, the playoff victories, however you want to frame it. But there is still that competence that he was able to bring to a program. They're like, okay, we know that James Franklin can build a certain level of contender. Again, it is do we want to put him in respectfully, respect to Mark Jackson. We're not creating a tier of coaches out of disrespect for Mark Jackson. We think, again, James Franklin's still coaching. Should Mark Jackson still be coaching? Maybe. But, is he going that Mark Jackson tier of can build a very successful team, but what is sort of his ability to get that team? And I guess, again, I don't know, do we want to just call out the obvious example? I mean, would Mark Jackson not have won the title in 2016? I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of, we go back to the Chat GPT, there's a lot of simulations we could probably run, or, I guess whatever kind of models you want to use to figure that they probably win the title more often than not in some of those years with Mark Jackson. But, regardless, it is what it is. But there's still, with respect to all the really good coaches and, across sports, there is still, of course, that tier of coaches that is, of course, able to provide that quality level of coaching. And then that last tier of coaches that's like, oh man, can we sign this guy to the lifetime contract? Like and maybe that level there's even a level even between those two levels as well too, because especially maybe even in the NBA, there is maybe that medium tier, because you do get, and maybe we were just in a little bit of an unprecedented time there. I don't know if we would be able to go back and the movement of the players, I'm sure, I'm sure affects the quickness at which you're, going through head coaches, changing up systems and stuff like that. But of course, we had that run where all the coaches of the years and then some of those finals winning coaches were getting, they were getting fired and getting replaced. But, even still with Coach Bud, like, shout out, I don't know, we're just gonna start ripping off names, but you had that run of like, Vogel, Coach Bud, who's even another name in there? Is it just those two guys that, cause like, I guess what Ty Lue won with the Cavs in 16, you did have Kerr winning again. Missoula's got a ring with the Celtics recently. Oh, Malone would have been one that got fired. Hey, shout out. So, I mean, and again, with respect, all these guys are really good coaches. And Malone, I guess maybe, whatever his next job would be a real, where does he kind of fall in that coaching tier type stuff? Because of course, maybe in a similar sort of way, it's like, and we were saying with that Golden State situation, there's some undeniable success that he's going to have because he's coaching with Nikola Jokic. It's like, okay, he's got the best offensive player of all time, and I guess he still couldn't even keep his job. So maybe, maybe we have to look at I don't know if there's like we're saying, ways we could frame it in other angles, but the level of coaching that a lot of those guys provided, again, they do provide that really good quality of play, but do they necessarily, if it's like, okay, if Spoelstra's got a couple of guys that are like real high level players, they're probably going to be competing for the finals every year. It is what it is. I mean, I guess really the only years he's had those kind of guys, he was in the finals. And again, and it's always going to be that way. The dominant greatest players ever are going to be the winners. So if you get lucky enough to coach them, shout out. I guess we'll see, JJ Redick with Doncic. I guess Kidd, they didn't win the finals, of course, but maybe Kidd a little bit with Dallas. But even still, I would say, if we dug into maybe Jason Kidd's career winning percentage, it'd be maybe a little bit. But is how far off of a coach is Jason Kidd from, like we're saying, Mike Budenholzer? It just, I guess maybe it depends on what kind of, like the team that you're gonna run, of course, your personnel, all different stuff. But at the end of the day, like we're saying, I guess we're the level of hire that you have to bring in at least to match that confidence with James Franklin, I guess year to year, like there has to be. I guess there doesn't have to be, but I guess there is maybe some expectation that there is that. Like who is that guy? Oh, chat, no way. The Cavs, right? I guess did we mention we have Spurs Cavs on in the background? I mean, if you're looking at the slate of games, I guess we didn't even have to. It is what it is. We're gonna have Spurs Cavs on in the background if the Spurs are playing. But it's a Cavs home game, so we don't have the Cavs broadcast on, but we've got I guess I don't know if we go League Pass corner here for a second, but you can of course choose. You can watch the in studio version or the in arena version. So I guess I think maybe the in studio version still. I don't know if the League Pass is the best with differentiating between their streams. So maybe you still see a lot of the in arena stuff if you're watching the studio version. But if I'm watching League Pass, I do like to watch the in arena versions because it is fun. And then you go to the national TV games, you're watching enough of those. You see, of course, we get what it's still a traditional broadcast. It's just the timeout time becomes there's a little bit there where it becomes a little bit more entertaining because you're like, okay, this is fun. You're seeing what's going on, in the arena. But not this time because the Cavs were just running some kind of 6-7 cam. I don't even know what you call it. I guess it is just the 6-7 cam because they were just panning to kids in the crowd, and they were just doing the 6-7 thing, which I guess we can't even really do the hand motion here because it is a pause, and we're not lame, chat, so we're not gonna do that. But it is. I mean, we're not the first ones to maybe say that the meme has run its course. But it is to the point now where we're walking around the restaurant, and we were hearing some parents today talking about like, oh yeah, Charlie's been walking around the house doing the 6-7. Like, oh, it's some meme from TikTok. And I was like, okay, it might be washed. It might be washed. If we're hearing the executives from the corporations around the restaurant, they're wandering in for lunch and they're talking about how their kids are talking about 6-7. Hey, yo, like it's, it might be long gone at this point, but now it's become a timeout entertainment in the NBA. Again, is that when things become washed? Like in some ways, that's, and you can't necessarily say like the ultimate sort of Hall of Fame for pop cultureness, but you can get a little bit of that with music as well too, where if something becomes an in arena song, it's like, man, it's really made a crossover. Like you're going to play it in an arena at an event, and most likely everybody's going to know this song. It's like you've really achieved the ultimate level of, at least notoriety there with the music. But also because it's that level of played, is what is the in arena song that's not really overplayed? And then maybe those are the songs that, the songs that play every time. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, Sweet Child of Mine might be like a top 10 song of all time. Like, does it ever actually get old? I guess, I don't know. Is that like an arena song? Maybe that's more of a college football song. I don't know. Big Ten song? I'm not sure. But we're not even necessarily like, I guess we'll go through Spotify Wrapped Corner in a second. Like, you'll see, we're not necessarily the big, pause, rock and roll guys over here. But again, the quality of some songs can't be denied. And, again, if it's just like, okay, I hear this song every time and it's still like hits, there's still a level of quality there. It is what it is. I don't know why that's the first one we gravitated toward. Maybe because it is also, like we're saying, we don't really listen to rock and roll that much. So it is also a little bit of a genre mix up for us. So there is just the freshness for us. Like we're saying, we're hearing, maybe we're not always queuing that song up, but it's like, okay, again, we're not necessarily hearing that sound a lot as well too. It'd be like rock samples in hip hop. It's like, okay, maybe some of the rock samples. So like Mike Dean's guitar is like the closest rock sounding we can get to, just like constant listening and in our rotation anyways. But that song, if it did play, we're never gonna be mad. Of course, that one is easily, I could say that could be a favorite for us, just because again, it could be some unique variety. I don't know if we have to like we get a cut of mixtape that we get to take, the Desert Island scenario, Castaway, but we have time to cut a mixtape with 10 songs. Like I'd throw Sweet Child of Mine on there. That'd be pretty sick. I mean, I'm the type of guy that would, cut the mixtape and then get to the island and probably immediately, I could replay some songs. I mean, again, the Wrapped Corner. Hey, yo, it's all about, what songs did you replay for the years. So make no mistake, I guess in some ways we can replay a song. But again, you got access to a lot more music than just the 10 songs there. I don't know, we get mixtape music claustrophobia, Chad? Is that a thing? Is that a thing in... Is content claustrophobia a thing? I'm not sure. I mean, we're definitely... in some ways the complete opposite right now with the amount of streaming services and all the different availability. I guess the amount of streaming services, we'll have to see what happens there, because of course they're everybody's becoming a streaming service, but also everybody's joining each other as well too, because I guess what Netflix is buying Warner Brothers. I was seeing that scrolling through Instagram, and I still haven't like quite looked up the articles yet to like actually see if it's true. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. Like, they're buying Warner Brothers, but it's like, man, Netflix is buying Warner Brothers? Hey, yo. Like, we really have, of course, made the full evolution pause of the industry at this point, where I don't know if Netflix ever necessarily bought out Blockbuster, but, again, of course, Netflix, I guess, and maybe the correct timeline thing would be something, maybe buying out Netflix. Maybe, that'll be in the future, I guess. Hey, yo, Sora is going to buy the Netflix studio. And then, I hate that that's the prediction, chat, but I guess those are the familiar names in 2025. But, it's like, okay, now Netflix is moving in and, and maybe the timeline is just Netflix should just continue. Maybe Netflix buys Sora. I don't know. Maybe they just continue, eating up all the different industry, all the different corporations and stuff like that. Who knows? But that was a crazy one. And I know Paramount, they acquired Skydance, of course. Industry corner here for the REMINGTOM pod. They acquired Skydance earlier this year, or they're trying to acquire Skydance. I guess, with the timeline of those like legal acquisitions. I guess I don't know if it's been official that all that stuff has been completed. But again, that was the news, and I guess that was maybe even the news, going back a couple years as well too, because there was like, okay, do we need to set ourselves up in a certain way if the election goes this way because we're trying to get this done? And I remember hearing about that back then, and it's like, okay, the 3D chess and play, hey, you learn a little bit more every year, but it's like, and that's not even, I would say, the biggest piece of 3D chess and play back then as well too. We might not even know what the other pieces would be. It's just like, okay, I doubt, if the movie studios are positioning themselves in certain ways, I don't know if, I'm assuming there's probably other, areas that are doing that as well too. So now, politics corner here for the REMINGTOM pod. I don't know, but either way, I was like, and just the idea of maybe also a corporation or whatever entity the size of HBO getting bought and overtaken by somebody as well too. There is just a little bit of like a oh wow factor to that, of course too, because not to say that again, like. And I guess I don't know what I was going to say there is I don't know the extent to what was going into that Skydance acquisition, because, Skydance is maybe a little bit more valuable than I was thinking as well too. But, regardless, I still don't think it's Warner Brothers. I guess we could just look it up here and see what's going on. And, we keep referencing it. And I guess even if it necessarily didn't end up happening, and I guess, more of is it a merger? So I guess, the legal proceedings there may be a little bit different than just Netflix being like, hey, we're going to Pac-Man this situation, just buy up the whole studio. But the merger was initially announced in July, deal valued at $8 billion, aimed to combine Paramount's extensive creative library with Skydance production expertise and technological capabilities. Okay, the merger officially closed on August 7th after navigating regulatory approvals from the SEC and FCC. The new company began trading on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol PSKY. Okay, but wait, what's this $28 billion? It creates a new entity called Paramount Skydance, okay, which is valued at $28 billion. Now, so yeah, again, their merger, $8 billion. Respect to Skydance, shout out, of course, RIP. Is that Redford? I think that's Redford, the indie films, whatever. There's other people that could, I guess, go to the Big Picture pod to hear him talk about the movie industry more knowledgeably. But, just looking at the numbers, you can tell that, the Netflix, of course, to the Warner Brothers. I mean, just looking at the streaming service libraries as well, too. The names in pop culture. And I think that is the surprising thing as well, too, because it did feel like HBO still did carry a brand value a little bit, and Netflix has definitely gotten there, make no mistake. And I guess in some ways everybody pivoting into the streaming platforms, like they have been able to continue brands in some ways. I mean, again, there is obviously a new hierarchy. Like NBC is not necessarily the top of the game in some ways anymore. I mean, they still are, of course, having Sunday Night Football as a major thing, but you wouldn't necessarily say that the rest of Peacock is maybe up to the same level as some of the other platforms. But it could be a sleeper as well too. We gotta give it its respect as well. But you got like maybe Paramount Plus, NBC kind of of course, some of those traditional services fallen behind a little bit. Netflix emerging out front, but it still felt like HBO was a major player in the streaming service stuff. And then their TV show capability, with their prestige TV, it still feels like they're able to eventize that basically as good as anybody else other than Netflix. And I guess Paramount Plus to some ways as well too, with the Sheridan stuff, has been able to get there. I guess Landman, I think that is Sheridan universe as well too. I'm trying to think. Is Task on Paramount Plus? That might be on HBO as well too. But yeah, that is crazy. And I guess I was gonna say, obviously HBO brings the value of just a great studio to anything and a great library as well too. So I guess the question is maybe, creatively, that would be the part to look into to see what happens as well. Is it just Netflix is essentially, acquiring the Warner Brothers library, but then, the whole corporation, but then Netflix essentially is going to take kind of the production side of things as well too? Is it still going to be, two separate brands? Do they merge the apps? Could be kind of crazy. And then, of course, we're getting closer to all the corporations just merging under Netflix, like we're saying at some point. And then Netflix is like, well, maybe we should just have kind of like what Pluto's doing. Once they buy Pluto, they're like, okay, we've got this like live streaming model where we have these channels and we can play all of these movies on these channels. So if you go to the Netflix crime channel is going to have all, and then Netflix will just have like a streaming version of cable TV in like 10 years, and that's where we'll be. I guess again with mergers, maybe like 15. I don't know. How long has Netflix been around at this point? When was Netflix founded? Because you could see some stat where it's like, Netflix started mailing out DVDs and then I guess, when did they invent DVDs? Was it like the 80s, or it would have been maybe in the 90s at some point? But we can see here when it was started, launch. Okay, end of the 90s, I guess, 1997. So as a DVD e-commerce service, and then in 2007 as a streaming service. So it went 10 years as a DVD dominant service, originally, and then almost 20 years as a, I would say, streaming service dominant, and not necessarily the full 20 years because, maybe the last 10 of those years they have really moved. So maybe it has been 10 years as the DVD, 10 years as the streaming service. Hey, wait, what do they have the breakdown here on the history? Transition to streaming, 7 to 12. Development of original programming and distribution, expansion, pause. So 13. So they went, like less than 10 years. They started developing their own content, expansion into international productions and new productions, 17 to 20. Expansion into gaming. Is that like the games that they have on their app? That is the part of Netflix that we haven't quite gotten into yet. And I guess maybe with like the, if for the kids as well too. I don't know, because is Coco Melon on Netflix, but maybe Disney Plus has a little bit of an advantage there. So if you're trying to, of course, really compete with everybody, that maybe it helps with that. But we haven't necessarily gotten into the Netflix game side of things. Co-CEOs discontinuation of DVDs, and then the live events into 2023. So yeah, that would be the next timeline. And again, HBO, I guess, HBO has, of course, done live events, but they're not necessarily, I would say, well, and maybe we'd have to look at, again, with us knowing more as HBO Max and stuff, I guess what they did start, of course, as a cable service, but even still, it felt like a little bit different of a thing as well, too. So, maybe even the timeline of that is just, continues to show how far that the industry has evolved in these ways, because maybe HBO was a thing that was kind of taking over, or not taking over, but moving in a different evolution from just the basic sort of 3-channel system that everybody talks about from back in the day. And now, again, and it does feel like in some ways we are basically post cable at this point. I mean, I know it still does exist in a way, but again, everybody has a streaming service. Everybody basically has everything on the streaming services at this point. So I know, maybe it's like 90, 85%, but by the time we're at that level, it's like, okay, we're in, not even the streaming era, but, again, it's like cable doesn't even really, I would say, maybe it just exists in like restaurants at this point. Maybe it is just like a, in public viewing type places where maybe because of some type of account limits, can you have, 4 Amazon, can you have, so maybe that's the next evolution is like Amazon Prime needs to launch like the restaurant streaming version of the, they need to launch like, the bar package where it's like, okay, you can have Prime on 4 TVs for this price instead of having to buy, like 4 Prime accounts, and there's like an entertainment only sort of version of it as well too. I guess, if it is a bar restaurant, you're probably going to want, I guess, have access to order some stuff as well too. I make no mistake. Maybe Amazon Prime will be helpful there a couple of times, but hey, maybe, how many ideas? I guess we're going to be the ones giving Amazon ideas. Yeah, hey, But I guess, hey, do we have to say shout out to Netflix? I don't know what the right thing is to say. Oh, chat, the OG logo. I don't know if it's nostalgic or kind of ugly. I'm not sure. It's kind of just, maybe it's just kind of simple. Maybe kind of, did they have Canva back in 97? When did Canva launch? Shout out, shout out. It is what it is. I guess, how complicated is the new logo as well, too. And maybe, again, it is just the industry dominance under sort of this colorway and this design than instead of maybe this one as well, too. I guess we don't necessarily know, how quickly they're able to take over from 97 to 2000. Even from 2000 to 2001. They pivoted from that real quick. Was this some Blockbuster sort of situation? There is some similar colors there. Obviously, I guess yellow. So I don't know if they're, their last attempt to try to get Netflix out of here was to sue them for the logo stuff. Who knows? But yeah, then of course we get iconic Netflix colorways. Shout out. And like we're saying, the red does stand out. Nobody has really, I think, moved in that, even in the color scheme for Netflix at this point from the streaming services. It is what it is, HBO and Paramount and Amazon Prime. I guess everybody else just has blue in their I don't know, brand color corner here from the REMINGTOM pod. It is what it is. But yeah, I guess, hey, that is, like we're saying, industry corner here. Shout out. We'll see what our Netflix subscriptions cost in a little bit here once they have to make up for that. Make no mistake, I don't know how much the Paramount Plus ones rose after they, I guess, dropped the 8 bill on Skydance, but hey, it was like 80 billion in this merger. So, it was pretty impressive. And I guess the thing that was even maybe, because we're not following, I guess, all the industry news and, how these studios are doing. And and Warner Brothers had a great year as well, too. You could say that Warner Brothers maybe had the best studio year, at least from a movie standpoint. I mean, of course, the two sort of, not even cult classic movies, but just maybe even a little bit, the kind of the pop culture movies of the year in Weapons and Sinners, of course, both HBO movies. Again, we'd have to go through the list and match them to the right studios, but they were really pumping out the quality cinema this year. Shout out. But they were able, Netflix is like acquiring them and absorbing up the debt as well too. So I was like, hey, just the level, again, to maybe which they were sitting over HBO and some of the stuff, maybe some of the other studios as well too, was pretty impressive. Maybe, and I don't know if there's like a middle tier between them and, because Amazon and Apple do also have, again, the other side of the business as well too, where there's like the literal hardware, they sell the products. I mean, Amazon, they have obviously the shipping business, so it's not just purely a streaming service or the live events and all that different stuff. So it just in terms of, I guess, and I don't know how they have it budgeted, but just in terms of the power behind those things, again, those are just bigger corporations. So I don't know, maybe is this, and maybe Disney as well too, just being massive corporation, but we, like we're saying, we don't know the values of any of this stuff, so maybe Disney just gets bought up by Apple at some point. I mean, they've talked about, and I guess we'd have to check again on the history of like the ESPN sales and all different stuff. Of course there's been of course talks about that in the past, and maybe Netflix was the one. It's just like Netflix is just gonna buy ESPN. It's like, okay, well, if ESPN's just going to be on Netflix, then it might as well just be on Disney at that point. Who knows if that's the thought process. But is that on the top headlines on here on ESPN? Netflix merger? Yeah, I don't think it is. So, again, we'd have to, I guess, dig into the Hollywood Reporter, the Variety articles, and see what's going on here for real if we need to catch up on the industry news. But yeah, Ayo, like we were saying, so Matt Campbell, shout out. We've been distracted by a lot of different topics trying to discuss Matt Campbell going to Penn State, but he should do a good job. You should do a good job, Chad. We kind of think that again is a guy that can bring in a level of expectation similar to what you had with James Franklin, but maybe he is also able to again get you over to the next level. And like we said, I guess we've maybe said it multiple times as well now too, but it is what it is. I guess we speak from the heart, chat. So Virginia Tech, mistress team for 2026. Fortunately, because of James Franklin maybe not having success against some of the better teams, not a lot of hard feelings towards James Franklin from a Michigan fan. Hey, again, competitive teams, you can't take them lightly. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm not afraid of a James Franklin Penn State team, but there's a stereotype there, and it's like, hey, James Franklin. I wasn't necessarily, super upset a lot of Saturdays after playing your team, hey, but at Virginia Tech, he's obviously not. Shout out. I mean, Penn State has great teams. So, again, it's just fortunate. It's fortunate. Fortunately, we bandwagoned as a young man over to a high-level program. It is what it is. Again, we've paid our dues. I don't know if we're the reason that they had to lose so many years to Ohio State. It's like, well, you tacked on this bandwagon fan. You're going to have to pay for it. But, we had to, of course, suffer the sort of real fandom years. It's not like we just picked up Saban on the Alabama run and we're like, okay, national titles every year, and now who's next? But you start watching, you fall for a talented, highlight level player like Denard Robinson back in the day, and all of a sudden you just, you're rooting for a team. It is what it is. But again, I think we've maybe proven ourselves loyal at this point, and it's not like we're jumping over. Obviously that's the team is the team. So, shout out. But regardless, we're going to have fun rooting for James Franklin at Virginia Tech. And we like, Virginia Tech. We think he's been flipping some recruits already. Like we're saying, can maybe build national title contenders. So, 12 spots in the playoffs. We'll see how limited that gets. But in some ways as well, I mean, has anybody said this as a hot take? I don't know. I didn't expect us to be breaking ground here in the college football era. Somebody's had to said this on ESPN. I'm trying to even think, who are the analysts. Shout out to like we said before, the Ringer Tailgate Pod. Van Lathan and Joel Anderson have been the analysts that have been our go-tos for the college football season. And, for, I guess, shout out Rosillo as well too. Obviously he's a national sports analyst. So, we don't just hold him to just college football. Shout out, but obviously a leader in the industry. But the fact that is James Franklin the best coach in the ACC? So I gotta pull up the ACC here to double check and make sure that maybe there's a reason that nobody's throwing this out as a hot take. But I think, and obviously from a legacy standpoint, the other guy, of course, is Dabo. But I think if you kind of look ahead in the take, maybe the last couple of years of Dabo compared to James Franklin, it's obviously, based on the current standing of them as head coaches. At what point in the timeline do we have to cut off Dabo's success to make it, fair for James Franklin? But then also, again, James Franklin has been competing, at a level as well too, win those years with Dabo winning the national title. We have to go back and double check. Was Penn State, a little bit down some of those years, maybe in the 20s in the rankings instead of okay. And remember, that was 14 playoffs. So if Penn State's 9 in the rankings, even back then it's disappointing. And maybe it's a little disappointing, unfortunately for James Franklin, the playoffs did expand to 12 teams, and Penn State decided to take a step back at that point. It's okay, well, you've been in the top 12 before this, and now all of a sudden, again, maybe that just goes to expectations and being able to meet those, whatever. But we got to just double check the ACC here, because I guess, I don't know if Belichick made a strong case in year one. For the Belichick defenders, does he have any left? We'll see year two in North Carolina. We might have to actually Google Bill Belichick, North Carolina, just to make sure. Oh, Cristobal, Miami. Okay, shout out. Miami is one of the weird teams this year, though, because they had a high ranking, but it was are they even going to make the conference championship? And then, I guess Georgia Tech, Pitt. I mean, shout out. Again, we got good coaches here, so maybe again we just got to remember some of these names. Who's the Pitt coach? Shout out. Wait, is Pat Narduzzi still around? I'll always just think about the Pitt coach being named. I'll just always think his name's gonna be Pat Narduzzi, just because. I guess to us that's just a great coach name, Chad. I don't know what to tell you, but Ted, like we're saying, Ted Marchibroda for the Colts. I don't know if he coached Unitas, but we know he coached the Colts because his name's Ted Marchibroda, and that's pretty cool. And Pat Narduzzi, I don't even know how to spell Narduzzi, but shout out. Okay, yeah, I mean, I felt like Pat Nard could have gotten us a lot of ways, a long ways in that search. Shout out. So yeah, he's still there. 11-3 1 year. Shout out. He's had one double-digit win season in a decade at Pitt, but again, it's Pitt, so not to be disrespectful, but I guess we're pro Pat Narduzzi on the Rem and Sam pod. Do we need to call Sam and see if he's pro Pat Narduzzi real quick? I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know the bowl game record. 2-5. Again, we could see the matchups as well too. His quarterbacks in the bowl games. Again, we got to give him respect, and they've been competitive this year as well too. He did get Kenny Pickett to play there, so I don't know if that means something, but here, yeah, wait a second, we got to go Georgia Tech as well too, and see, not to say that we're not considering Dabo again, but just to say that we've already considered Dabo in the conversation. Brent Key, that's right, Brent Key. I know we've looked at the name before. Shout out. I guess his first run at the head coaching at Georgia Tech here. He has now in his fourth season 4-4, 7-6, 7-6, and now 9-3. So a little early, I guess, building a name for himself, but maybe a rising star as he continues to have successful seasons there. We'll see if he's able to, I guess, ACC wise crossover and compete for a championship. I guess we got to pull up the ACC title game. I guess they had Virginia and Pitt listed at 1 and 2. So I don't know if there's and I guess or Virginia, SMU, Miami, and then Pitt. They had Pitt listed at 4 here. Not 2. Shout out. But so we got to double check the title game. Where's it at? Is this the early one? No, BYU Tech. Oh, Duke versus Virginia. Duke, and the team that's for some reason ranked last here in the standings on the ESPN website is playing in the conference championship game. Is that do they rank it by points for? Is it record and then points for? Wait, what's the conference win percentage here? Can we get? Oh wait, this is the conference win percentage. So yeah, it might actually be. Oh, is that might be why they have it listed here? It could be. Chad, is this an order of importance for tiebreakers? Because yeah, again, all these teams are 6-2, but I guess Duke has the most points for. So shout out. Do they have the fewest points against? No, SMU does. Oh, Miami does. Shout out. Ruben Bain. So, Miami's going to be ranked 12th, but are they even going to make the playoffs? So what does that mean for Mario Cristobal? But again, if this is the, a stellar group of guys, I'm sure a lot of great gentlemen in here. If we had him out for like an ACC coach's dinner, I'm sure it'd be a great time. Do we have to look up the SMU coach to pay respects just to make sure we're naming everybody? They're having a good year this year, and maybe the Duke coach as well too, because again they are in the actual conference championship game, and I guess the Virginia coach. Okay, we're just looking up ACC coaches. It is what it is. Can we just look up like the ACC conference? Rhett Lashley, shout out. Oh wait, this is not going to give us a list of coaches. Oh, well, we can look up the teams anyways. It is what it is. Tony Elliott for Virginia. So again, maybe it is the newness of some of the names. We'll see if any of these guys, and I guess here we'll double check, as Tony Elliott had a run at some smaller schools, but at least for us anyways, like we're saying, outside of Pat Narduzzi, no, yeah, 4 years at Virginia now, as well as, like we're saying, Brett Key at Georgia Tech. And then I guess we could look up Rhett Lashley, his run as well too. So yeah, all these guys are currently new head coaches. So that's why we would be saying that, again, for us, that there's just not necessarily a name, really jumping off the page as well too for sort of the standout legacy guys here in the ACC. That's where you're like, okay, who's got the best resume? It's probably, Belichick. Hey, yo. But I guess, again, we're comparing everybody against the greatest coach of all time. Just unfortunately for UNC fans, maybe not at the moment, but is Manny Diaz in contention? 3 years at Miami, 2 years at Duke. It's been still a quick run as a head coach, but we'll see here. And again, he's got Duke in the national title or in the ACC title game, so we've got to give him his respect there as well too. But yeah, Clemson 7-5 this year, 4-4 in the conference is pretty good. Stanford's in the ACC this year, Chad. I guess, the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore, but just the idea of Stanford being in the ACC, that might be. Is that the last school that had to be aligned in the puzzle piece? I feel like for some reason, just like the conference realignment puzzle just like got completed right there. It's like, wait a second. Okay, Stanford's in the ACC. Boom. That was the last piece. It wasn't even something that I was considering. I wasn't walking around thinking, oh yeah, I know that Stanford is in the ACC. Honestly, if you had asked me today, what conference Stanford is in, I probably would have said the Pac-12. I probably would have just been like, yeah, they're in the Pac-12. It is what it is. Be like, no, fool, they're in the ACC, and Frank Wright, the former Colts head coach, is coaching them. So shout out the Colts-Stanford connection continues. Of course, maybe you want to be going from Stanford to Indy instead of the other way around. Shout out Andrew Luck, but I guess neither way is bad as well too. Stanford's been a great program in the past, so shout out. We'll see what Frank Reich's able to do. How many years is Frank Reich? Is this his first year? 4-8. It probably has been. I don't know how many years he's gonna be there. Yeah, 4-8. I guess. Do we have to Google Frank's Reich name? Shout out. I guess. Oh no, Stanford. We do check a Stanford. I guess now that I'm thinking about it. And speaking of Andrew Luck, chat, we're connecting the dots. That's right. The news pieces that we were seeing, or we're actually remembering them. I forget who they replaced him with, but regardless, they replaced him with a guy. I remember seeing something about Andrew Luck being really excited, a quote about him being really excited for the new head coach. So, new head coach, it is what it is. Stanford head coach Tavita Pritchard offered a lot of excitement in introductory presser. So, I don't know if Andrew Luck brought in Frank Wright. He might have, honestly. That would make sense. I mean, shout out. Not to say that, Frank Wright wouldn't find himself in a D1 head coaching spot, but, I don't know, maybe the coordinator path could be a little bit more, we don't mean to just, assign him coordinator status for the rest of his life. I'm just saying that maybe that he would take that route as well, too. So, wait, we have to see when Andrew Luck got hired here as the Stanford GM. The Stanford GM or the Stanford GM, he maybe is talented enough to, complete both jobs. I don't know, but or maybe this. When was this? 2024, November 30th, 2024. Okay, wait a second. So now we gotta look up Frank. So I guess he would have probably hired Frank Wright, but Frank Wright, Stanford. I guess we maybe just look up his Wikipedia page or something like that. 3 days ago, Frank Reich era in Stanford ends with a loss to Notre Dame. Oh, they announced him as the interim. Okay, maybe we spoke too soon. Shout out Frank Reich. He's doing what he can to, I guess manage a program. The interim coaching status. Is it coveted? Is it not? It's obviously a tough place to be. But and I guess we could see who was there before. I guess it's not like they have a coach listed, so he just was a one-year coach. That's all it was. April 3rd, 2025. Okay, wait, we have to go back in time real quick and look up what happened at Stanford. How did Frank Wright end up at Stanford? I don't know why we would have to be so invested in this. We're at the Stanford Daily Chat. The Remington Sam Pod doing research. It is what it is. Frank Wright was officially introduced as the Stanford interim head coach for the 2025 season, joining general manager Andrew Luck in a press conference that emphasized continuity, character, and competitive standards. So yeah, I guess that's why, and not to say that you wouldn't make a change in 3 days, but not to say that these teams aren't do they have a bit of the Shannon Sharp approach to moving on from head coaches? They can at times. They can at times. I don't know if anybody's, has anybody fired and hired a head coach in the same day? I mean, it's definitely happened. There's no way it hasn't. And maybe, if you fire him and then promote the interim, and then the interim eventually becomes the guy that, I don't know if that's a way to consider it as well too. But I mean, like, and I don't know what names to throw out for a comparison. I guess to use the Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin situation, if they had fired Brian Kelly and then literally the same day hired Lane Kiffin, like, I guess, is there a situation like that? But yeah, either way, bringing in Frank Reich for a year is, a good, if you need to just get back and just be like, oh, pause, if you just, okay, we just need to start from ground zero and just get some professionalism in the building. I mean, look at the Panthers, chat. The Panthers started this run with Frank Reich. They went all the way from a 1-win team under Frank Reich to now, he had him in the 1 win, set the culture very strong in that first year, and then let Canellis take the team. I think. Did it go Matt Rule to Canellis or Canellis from Frank Reich? Now we're going to be looking at Panthers coaching history here, and maybe we don't need to be, going down that rabbit hole. Who knows? My focus is football, Reich said. Andrew's going to assume a lot of responsibilities that the normal head coach would have to take. The duo spoke openly about their shared philosophy and past success together in the NFL. We just kept trusting our process. We had a pretty magical season. It reaffirmed why Frank was my first call. While Reich emphasized his short-term commitment, he stated that this year is what works for my life. He also made it clear that expectations are high. The standard is elite. I mean, we're trying to be the best. Reich inherits a young coaching staff, but expressed confidence after early meetings. So yeah, maybe Tavita Pritchard his success is going to determine whether or not Frank Reich ever coaches again. Who knows? Because we'll see. I guess I don't know what the over-under said about expectations for him this year, but regardless, maybe James Franklin has a chance to again be the best. Oh, Norvell, is Norvell still even there, chat? Hey, if we have to ask, does that mean he's in the mix? I'm not sure. Pause. But yeah, by the end of next season, we could be saying it. We could be saying that James Franklin's the best coach in Virginia Tech. Chat, we're all in. Pause. It is what it is. What was their record this year? 2-6 in conference play. What was their overall record? 3-9. Oh, chat. Can we bet this right now? Can we bet James Franklin to win Coach of the Year? It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen because again, they're gonna win games. I guess, it could be a tough conference. Again, we'll have to see how, I guess, ultimately good some of these other teams are as well too. But he's proven in the past to be able to win some regular season games. So if he can win 9 games here, I mean, what was again the record for? Well, I guess you got a couple of 10-win teams. And Duke somehow. Wait, so Duke is 7-5, and because I guess conference record, they're able to make it in the championship game. Miami at 6-2, Duke at 6-2 in the conference, but Miami at 10-2 overall, and Duke at 7-5 overall. So again, if Duke wins, does that mean they get an automatic bid? Do we have to look at that article, chat, that was on the homepage there about the chaos scenarios? Hey, is Duke gonna get in the playoffs? That'd be a little weird, maybe, but yeah, I think we could really be seeing an interesting James Franklin push. There could be a point next year where maybe Matt Campbell, and again, we say we like the hiring. I don't know if we would still necessarily say that we would take Matt Campbell as a head coach over James Franklin. I mean, you got to admit that I would, no disrespect to Iowa State. I mean, they are, of course, in the home state. Maybe we're not on that side of the state, just in terms of location. But, regardless, we got to be respectful to the team. But I would say that maybe Penn State, football-wise, is able to provide just a little bit more of a winning advantage than Iowa State as a program. And, the Big Ten is still a tough competition. So it's not maybe, again, an easier path. But, of course, maybe there is more resources to compete with. But there could be a moment next year where Virginia Tech has a better record than Penn State. And it's like, oh, what move did they make? And maybe, that's just a legitimate thing that just happens anyways. Because, again, James Franklin's a good coach. But, yeah, I think we could really see, if we're just looking at immediately who could take a big jump from year 1 to year 2, I guess, with new coaches, we could go double check the whole landscape. Like, what does Florida look like? LSU this year even, was a little bit maybe down in the record than we thought. I mean, did they lose 3 or 4? And again, you go conference record and overall record as well too. I guess Pac-12 not dead. That's right. Still 2 teams. They're listed here as a conference option. But LSU 3-5 in the conference and 7-5 overall. I guess the thing would be sort of Lane Kiffin year one, and not to say that maybe James Franklin would be a better year one head coach than Lane Kiffin, but I think, his ability to get Virginia Tech out of the bottom paws of the AFC, or the AFC, the ACC. If James Franklin gets Virginia Tech all the way to the AFC, then he's really going to win Coach of the Year. That's going to be impressive. But is that a sports movie? This college team is playing so well, they have to play an NFL team, and it's like they just keep winning. They just keep winning. Is Virginia Tech going to win the Super Bowl? That's definitely a movie at this point. That's a ChatGPT cooked up script. That might be one of those like, I don't know if we're allowed to mention these, but they keep popping up in our algorithm. These AI Pixar trailers. I don't know what these are, chat. And of course, they're all just so over the top with some of the stuff they're throwing out there. But and it's just crazy. Like every time there's a new story, it's like somehow there's just this AI generated trailer for it. I forget even what the topics of some of the ones. I guess speaking of Giannis, the Giannis trade. There was like a. What if a Milwaukee Buck gets upset with the thing? It's like, wait, how do we have a Pixar trailer already for this Giannis trade? There was another one. I don't know, if we're, gonna be looking these up on the live stream or not, because they are a little bit sketchy. And I guess I'm not gonna do I just start scrolling and see if I can find one and get the page? I guess since we've talked about it, we really put the algorithm to the test and see. But that was just the, and I guess being AI generated, I mean, you're probably able to put them out pretty fast, but it is pretty crazy that and maybe there was a Penn State one, a James Franklin one in there as well too. I'm not sure, but either way, maybe there was a Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly. I'm not sure. But yeah, I guess it could be competition for either of those guys. Florida at 2-6 in the conference, 4-8. But Florida has been, they've been having trouble finding a head coach. So I don't know if is Florida going to go in cursed team territory? I'm not sure. But our bets on James Franklin, chat. Shout out the Hokies. Let's go Hokies. Shout out. But, shout out Mike Vick. So I guess, the Hokies era Mike Vick. I mean, Atlanta era Mike Vick, Philly era Mike Vick. I mean, highlight wise, there isn't any era of Mike Vick. That's not cool. But obviously, I don't know if that is a big reason why they are a mistress team. But I don't know if that's our number one player to mistress team connection in college football like that. I'm not sure if there's another player that. Again, there's a player that we like so much that we just like root for their college team because we like that player. Maybe just in all of sports as well too. I'm trying to think because I mean, again, as much as we love, and not to say that do we like Mike Vick as a player more than any of the Spurs players? I guess I would have to like maybe really, unbury some of the subconscious there and really see what's going on. But but still, I wouldn't say I would like root for their college teams compared. I would never say I would like root for Virginia Tech over Michigan, but I do again like genuinely like would like to see Virginia Tech win some games, and a lot of it is because it's just Mike Vick's school. Shout out. So maybe if Ginobili I guess maybe had a college stint, then that could be a potential as well too. And I guess for the Spurs, they've had of course influx of international guys like that, where even Wemby, it's not like Wemby, are we be cheering for Team France in the Olympics? I guess maybe when they're playing with Wemby on the team, not against Team USA. We're still on the right side over here. It is what it is. But, we still got to root for the winning team at the end of the day. I mean, how can you not root for the Steph Curry, LeBron James? I guess, 2028 we'll have to see, Chad, if it's Wemby versus Halliburton and Tatum and Cade Cunningham, then maybe we are going to be in Team France jerseys in 2028. Who knows? But I guess early 2026, way too early 2026 college football predictions is James Franklin is going to, bring Virginia Tech the most instant success of any of the college football head coaches. I was going to try to find maybe a more specific way to word it so we could be, we could protect ourselves, pause, we could really, make sure that the take is going to be right. But I'll stand by it. I don't know if we need to, again, pull up a list just to double check, but between that and LSU was really the other big name school, and then I guess it would be, whoever takes over the Penn State job as well. So I don't know if there, would there have been again? And again, that becomes the problem. It's like, is there a name that we can get that's better than James Franklin? But like we're saying, Matt Campbell does make a lot of sense. Shout out. So, hey yo, we had that Kentucky Gonzaga game on in the background there for a little bit. That has finished up. We've got Kansas Miami chat, but it's volleyball. Hey yo, I don't know if our journalistic integrity, we have to, see what's going on all across the sports world or not. But what else do we got? The Sun Belt Championship, maybe? The Sun Belt Championship? It is what it is. Connecticut versus Xavier. Is this college basketball? I mean, no disrespect. Again, we love, obviously, all the sports. It is what it is. But we're just, maybe keep up with, we got to keep up with a couple of lanes here. It is what it is. And, maybe we need to be better at bringing in, more sports. Of course we do, chat. 2026. But also, we'll watch a little college basketball. There's nothing wrong with that. Cincinnati versus Xavier. Neither of these teams ranked. Ooh, but, a tense rivalry. Kind of maybe maybe every sort of sneaky, low-key rivalry, people would make this claim. Because there could be some Ivy League rivalries or something. You really start going into the, the depths of college sports. Rivalries, of course, can just get intense all over the place. But I guess just in general, of course, Cincinnati versus Xavier college basketball is a pretty intense rivalry. And I guess we'd have to double-check what Xavier is doing out there for football. But I would say that Xavier football is non-existent. And if it is, of course, it's not on the level of Cincinnati or, even able to, play them. I haven't even really seen Xavier football, play anybody. Has there ever been just, a Xavier-Alabama game? And, yo, we might have to be careful. We'll go NCAA here and see what's going on. St. Xavier versus Olin Tallangagali Orange, the OSSS. Okay, so we're in different sector of sports here. So wait a second. We've got Xavier University. They've got includes men's and women's basketball, cross country, track. Yeah, they might not have a football team. I'm not seeing it. So I have no memories of a Xavier football. Oh, Xavier Musketeers football. Here we go. 1900 to 43 and then 46 to 73. Xavier hasn't had football since 73. Chat, do we have to have a hot take? Do they need to bring Xavier football back? Again, I don't know what they're working with, but come on. I mean, you got to have something. Do they have to be in Division I for football? They can't be in a temporary hiatus during World War II. Okay, shout out, chat, salute. But the program declined in the late 60s and early 70s, experiencing consecutive 1-9 seasons. They just called it quits. Hey, yo, Virginia Tech went out and hired James Franklin. Xavier's like, nope, we'll just shut down the team. Hey, yo, on December 19, 1973, the Xavier University Board of Trustees voted 15-3 to discontinue the intercollegiate football program effective immediately. Oh, okay, so, that's a bummer, but still, that's not where you get the big bucks. The university president attributed the decision to the spiraling cost of... Oh, wait, would intercollegiate be... I guess, do we have to look up the term intercollegiate, chat? Rem and Sam, I guess maybe we don't, put Sam on this as well, too. But I guess intramural. Intramural would be when you're playing against your own school, when it's like the flag football games. But I guess, yeah, of course, intercollegiate would be then, yeah, playing other colleges. Ayo. Intercolleges and pause, but okay, so maybe they still have the intramural football team. I guess if Xavier shuts down intramural football, then that's bad. That's not good. I feel like every you gotta have even seven-man flag football, even a small tiny they don't even have any real sports type of school. Not no disrespect. I'm just saying again. Maybe some schools are specialty schools in some ways, but also there's a lot of people there that are interested in football. So it's like, hey, we're going to have a couple flag football teams and have fun doing that. But, again, that's what we're saying. Even some of those schools would have flag football teams. So if Xavier shut that down, that would be bad. But I guess maybe we keep reading. As recently as 2013, Xavier fielded a club football team in the National Club Football Association. So wait, is that soccer? What is National Club Football? Association of Collegiate American Football Teams. Makes sense. Okay. In 2023, students at the university began efforts to revive the club team. The team began practices in 2024 and plans to compete against other universities in the 2024-25 school year. Oh, okay. So I don't know if that's happened yet or not. The Musketeers played their game in Koran Stadium. I mean, maybe they have to. Oh, wait, did it get demolished? The stadium was demolished in '88, so they may have to rebuild. Shout out. But I was gonna say, wait, didn't the Kelsey twins go to Xavier? So close, Chad. I think they went to Cincinnati. But imagine if the Kelsey twins went to Xavier, maybe they'd have a couple boosters. Get a couple more people. Not that they, they're doing pretty good already, but maybe even a couple more people subscribe to the New Heights pod, and all of a sudden, you're really making some moves at some quarterbacks. And you can start, pause. You can start small. Maybe you're really bringing in, really scouting the 3 stars and really just being like, okay, yeah, we're not going to be able to, compete in a certain naming sort of situation with the way that these classes are graded. But if we do our job evaluating talent and system, maybe we can, scout well. And then you kind of build a program that way. I don't know. But the shout out, we'll sit here and pioneer Xavier Musketeers football and say that it needs to be a thing that gets revived. But their basketball team up 2 right now. And I guess both these teams are still looking like they're having good seasons. 6-2 for Cincinnati, 6-3 for Xavier. So we could still say that, they're in the tournament type. They were, winning records and stuff. You still imagine a tournament level team for each of these, though again, they can't of course be top 25, much higher type teams. I think unfortunately, Xavier's had some early exits, so maybe some of their top rankings don't necessarily get remembered, respected in the same type of way, but of course they are a legit basketball program as well too. I mean, we all know, shout out. So I mean, they've got I don't want to just say a Joakim Noah. I mean, that's we're just making a who's kind of a disruptive elbow throwing big man with long hair, but also maybe it is a specific enough comp that we could make it. I guess we should say Cincinnati's got an elbow throwing long haired big man out here. I don't know if that's a pause, but maybe that's like a triple pause. Did we just hit pause bingo there? I'm not sure, but yeah, he was kind of a clumsy, not necessarily clumsy, but kind of a aggressive, maybe is the right word for it, aggressive. Back down sort of elbows flailing around. Is it an offensive foul? But maybe it's a flop as well too. And then all of a sudden he's making a basket. So is he their best player? I'm not sure, but they were just running plays for him there. All of a sudden Cleveland has somehow opened up a lead on San Antonio. It is 99 to, oh, I take it back. It's 100 to 82. They at the free throw line are making free throws. Not the difference. Both team 19 free throw attempts for the game. I'm afraid to look up what the 3-point percentages here. So hopefully, Cleveland goes on a win streak and it's not just like, wait a second, what happened at home that one game? But Craig Porter Jr. is playing, so maybe there is Craig Porter Jr. playing, Wembanyama not playing. Maybe it becomes a little unfair at that point. But we do have some Carter Bryant minutes here, and we got a fun double alternate matchup as well too. I was were we gonna rant about this? Maybe did we have this in the rundown? I'm not sure, but I was thinking about this the other day. Well, because the Warriors Sixers were playing, and the Sixers had on their they had on their we'll just call them the Iverson kits. It is what it is, though. Like Iguodala and stuff played a little bit in those, but they the Iverson kits, those early 2000s jerseys in the court, and it was all done up really great. The black uniforms. And the Warriors just had on their modern uniforms. And not to say that, the Warriors' modern uniforms are bad and, anything like that. But it would have been such a great nostalgic matchup to have the old early 2000s, not old, but, early 2000s Sixers uniforms with the early 2000s Warriors uniforms, or even the We Believe Warriors. I don't know if, how many years those exact jerseys would have overlapped each other. I think enough. Because then it wasn't really until like 12, 13 when they kind of moved, I think, into the red, white, and blue kind of colorways. But up until, I would say the We Believe Warriors. Maybe the Warriors and the Sixers kind of pivoted around the same time as well too. Who knows? We have to go back and double check that. But yeah, it would have been a great double alternate uniform matchup to have both those, and those are again just great era specific, real alternate jerseys from that time. So a real missed opportunity, and I don't know if again, it's the home team doing something fun for a home game. They don't really they're not trying to get the away fans invested in the game by it's like alternate jersey night for the away team as well too. But just from a viewing standpoint, Chad, the voice has been, I guess, do we just blame the voice losses on the last live streams? I don't know. Maybe we have to in 2026 we have to figure out new no voice losses strategies for the live stream. Who knows? But the 2026, 2026 we'll just be talking like this, a lot more. It is what it is. But what we talk about, chat. The Cavs are taking on the Spurs right now. Boston versus the Lakers. Miami versus Orlando. This is the game we should have on. Our guy Norm Powell's gonna be on first team All NBA this year, and I don't want to speak too much. Do we have to get through the Spotify Wrapped recap and then go to Giannis trades, or do we just go to the Giannis trade machine as well too? Again, if we're speaking from the heart, not to say that we don't want to recap our Spotify. Make no mistake. If there's anybody that wants to share a playlist, I mean, you can, check the tapes. It is what it is. But also, if you want to see somebody that likes poking around in the trade machine, you can also check the tapes there. Shout out. So I kind of want to cook up Giannis trades. I mean, again, we kind of want to see what the Spurs core has as well, too. And I know that we're a leading candidate right now for landing Giannis. Not to say that we're having, I guess second thoughts on the idea of acquiring Giannis, but also maybe we could, potentially just double check that and see as well too. But maybe IT will have to flip a coin in the break. I think maybe we're going to end up doing some Giannis trades as well too, because it does feel a little, maybe not a little fresher, because again, the Giannis, the Giannis injury, who knows what happens with that? I guess, hearing like Simmons and other people talk about, it's like, oh, is this going to put and they're probably talking from a more directly knowledgeable, from what I'm hearing standpoint, compared to just, why wouldn't this happen? Just sitting here thinking about it. But, also, if you're another team, why wouldn't you trade for Giannis with the calf injury? It's like, okay, well, what is the extent of it this year? It's like, well, okay, am I trading for Giannis for just this season? Do I have to trade him back in the offseason? Like, I mean, I get maybe it affects the value of what the trade could be, or the Bucks' willingness to, I don't want to say compromise value, but, again, maybe it would affect the Bucks maybe side of it a little bit more. But from another team, I don't know why another team would. Like, if the Spurs traded for Giannis, like, in theory, again, do we have to put in quotes, if it's a good trade package? If it's a good trade package and they get Giannis, like, right now, if they just announced it, if we got the Bleacher Report article with 52 seconds left in the third quarter, it's like, oh, all of us, Brian Wright was actually not at the game, and he's actually, in the office. Oh, he's been texting the whole time, and all of a sudden we got Giannis. But, we wouldn't be mad just because Giannis is right now projected to be out for a month. It becomes obviously a question of what this season happens, and what did we give up from the long-term standpoint? What does it look like? But it's like, okay, we have Giannis and Wemby at the end of the day, and even Wemby's hurt, so it's like, okay, they both can. The recovery room is gonna be stacked, chat. Giannis and Wemby in the recovery room. The Instagram highlights are gonna be crazy. And then hopefully, when they get on the court as well too, they're going to be great. But but yeah, we'll go. I guess we're already in Giannis trade corner. So when we return from break, chat, more Giannis trade corner as we have to we go to the trade machine, cook up more trades. It's that time, chat. It's that time. Right after this. Okay, chat, we are back. Giannis trade machine time. Hey, yo. I know it's not the first time we've been on the trade machine, especially not the first time cooking up trades for Giannis. But if we could tread lightly and say that it might just be like a monthly sort of thing we have to be looking at the NBA at this point until it actually happens, where, of course, the rumors continue to ramp up. I mean, ultimately, the success of the Bucks this year, maybe has not been as competitive as you would have thought going into the season, or maybe, had sort of potentially considered. I don't know if, again, we would have like locked this team to being like a 4, all of a sudden they're really underachieving this year as a 10 seed. I mean, again, 10-13, it's still a losing record. Being below 500 with a player like Giannis is never where you want to be. It's like, okay, what does that mean for the rest of the roster, just the rest of the situation at this point? And then, of course, maybe even more so just where they're at, being kind of compromised with some of the trade stuff. I think that is the part that does get forgotten about the Milwaukee situation. It's not just that, again, the team is in a different talent spot and Giannis is, quote unquote unhappy. It's like, and I guess, we could go back and track all the moves. What was Giannis saying from a move standpoint? I guess the Dame trade was very much influenced by him as well, too. But, again, they're just sort of handicapped from what they can accomplish, and their maneuverability in the future is pretty limited at this point. So, I mean, you never want to just trade your player to get more, to get more maneuverability in the future. It's like, okay, if we trade Giannis, like, oh, woof, now we have options. It's like, well, yeah, you gave up Giannis for that. So maybe, do you want to have Giannis or do you want to have options? But, the vice versa, that is, you have to trade your best player because you have no outs, and then you as a byproduct of that, you get a good haul back and are able to rebuild. You can't, obviously, like we're saying, maybe complete that in the same way if you keep him on the roster. But regardless, like we're saying, I don't know if I guess I just don't know. Again, we're not hearing the news. Maybe we need to look up at the hoops hype a little bit more. But I just, outside of what the Bucks would be willing to take back in a trade, don't know why a team wouldn't still want to pursue him at this time. Again, it's still Giannis who we're talking about. And just having him in the building, adjusting him to the team as well, too, is important. If you're a team, the sooner you trade for these guys, the better. Again, I don't know, if we're just throwing out San Antonio as the easy team that, and everybody kind of wants him to go there as well, too. It is, I guess, I don't know if everybody wants him to go there, but I think a lot of people would potentially like the idea of seeing Wemby and Giannis playing together. It would obviously be a very entertaining duo. But the actual, like we're saying, having him in the building for less than a year, and then, is that going to make us a title team in one season? And then again, of course, there is, like we're saying, what we have to give up in a trade. Where is Wemby at this year? All that, but just trading for maybe your best player on the team or your second best player on the team and then winning the title, we'd have to go through the history of the league, I guess, and see how many times that's happened. I guess, like we're saying, the Lakers got Luka last year, and, that definitely made them a different looking team and changed what their upside could be. But at the end of the day, that kind of midseason adjustment is just a lot to deal with in terms of getting everything on the same page in time to make a competitive playoff run. Because you don't just have to be, again, playing well. You have to be, and I don't know if we're, getting like basketball cliche, basketball poetry here, but you do have to be playing together. You have to be playing, at a certain level of play, and you have to be, at a certain level of confidence in your game, and everybody, the swagger's there, but also everybody has to be kind of playing a little bit together, and even if it's like the 2018 LeBron Cavs, in some ways that team is playing together. Again, obviously LeBron's 85% of it just doing everything, but you've got guys that, respect, your role on the team. You got the competitiveness that's there. At least, maybe Shumpert and Dellavedova are, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, but at least they're trying, and at least they know what they're, to some degrees they're capable of. Obviously, maybe, J.R. Smith not all the times does, but that's obviously maybe a good thing as well, too, and can lead to some heat check performances. But at least there is a quote-unquote togetherness with those teams. even if it's not, the togetherness of like the 2013 Spurs. But regardless, getting Giannis into the building the sooner the better is better. So I would not be against trading for him just because he's going to have to sit out some games with an injury. You got to get him in. You got to get him accustomed to everything. Maybe you get him on your own sort of recovery thing as well too. I don't know. Again, I'm San Antonio with the injuries with some of the superstars in the past. Maybe not the cleanest track record, but still, again, the sooner you can bring him in for an instant season, and then for next year as well too. Just the sooner you can bring in a guy on your team, obviously, the better. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but shout out to the New York Knicks, obviously, for not following that rule for 15, 20 years there for a second. But I don't know if we have to go through and see try to rank them by how we're okay with where Giannis does end up with this team, or if we could just kind of jump right into where we think. Maybe we just start with the hot takes, chat. It is what it is. And just kind of go through trades and, cross teams off the board that way. Again, we could go with San Antonio, but I was trying to think about what just the wild, obviously, like everybody, what is the wildest possible move, but sometimes, of course, like we're saying, these superstar trades, the team, the superstar will request the team, and then we're going to have the back and forth pause between those teams to figure out ultimately what the right compromise is there. It's okay, we have to trade you there, but you still have to at least give us a decent trade package. So at what point is the cave going to happen there, and the trade's going to be made? But there is also, again, the kind of the complete surprise trade as well too. I don't want to say, obviously it's in either direction, but it does feel like, again, for the star player, you get either the sort of the slow burn or just, wait a second, this happened, where, of course, again, Luka is the ultimate example of that. But even the Dame trade, obviously the saga of that was, I guess, drawn out a little bit. Maybe the trade itself, when it went down, was a little bit more surprising. Again, ultimately the pieces and then where he ended up. I guess we'd have to go back and remember, ultimately how long the Dame to Milwaukee saga was a stare down. I remember it being, I guess, a little bit more, obviously, Miami as well. So maybe Miami's the team. But for some reason today, I was walking around. We were just walking around the restaurant. Who should trade for Giannis? Who should trade for Giannis? And I was thinking about, maybe it's okay, would I be shocked? And now, with the Shams, or with, was it Shams that, yeah, Shams was the one that broke the Doncic trade. With the Shams graphic Doncic trade sort of shock test now as sort of a gauge. Obviously, again, that being the ultimate version of anything. But it's would we be shocked to see these two players being traded for each other on an ESPN graphic at this point? And I was thinking, would we be shocked if we saw a Paolo for Giannis trade? I don't know if Paolo's name has been discussed in that type of way. Ooh, I guess poison pill contract may make that, Chet, immediately becomes a little bit more difficult. But there is some cap space here to work with for these teams. So maybe we just, figure this one out as a potential first trade. I don't know if we have discussed Paolo for Giannis, but I feel like with these superstars as well too, again, the timing, not just for when you bring them on the team, but for the trade value of the player that you're trading for, that changes month to month in the NBA as well too. Paolo's trade value could be way different in a month if he just goes on a scoring tear, or if he continues to, maybe the field goal percentage goes in a different direction, or who knows, whatever. Maybe all of a sudden you're going, do we need a little bit more for this in a Giannis trade than maybe what we would have in the past? But right now, if it was later this week announced that Giannis was being traded for Paolo, I don't know if I'd be shocked. I guess maybe we'd have to back up and pause and say as well too that, Paolo at one time would have been a guy that maybe, I don't want to say would have been untouchable for a guy like Giannis, but would have been we'd really have to think about, maybe not right now. Can we call you back in a year and a half and just see where we're at? Because at least we want to just, again, see what Paolo could become as a player. And not say that, now we've seen it. He's 23 years old. But the chance to get Giannis and maybe, I don't want to, you're not resetting anything. Giannis is 31, but you still have other young core pieces there. And I don't know if Suggs and, Wagner have kind of become a little bit of more the core of the team anyways. Again, maybe Paolo's injuries have factored into that from time to time. And then, Anthony Black as well too, if he still is continuing to look like a decent player. So, yeah, Paolo traded on the outgoing is 15.3. He's $15.3 million outgoing, but for the Bucks, he is $42.6 million being received on the salary cap. So, again, maybe for Paolo specifically, and that's just the timing of the league as well, too. If Giannis were to wait till the summer, or if this were to drag out until the summer where all of a sudden Paolo is not on this poison pill part of the contract anymore, because I'm guessing once their season, once, the contracts are moved into next year, he'll just be on that salary number. Here we can double check, I guess, his year-to-year salaries here if this fan SPO is correct. But yeah, next year, I guess his veteran extension would kick up to $41.5 million. So maybe for the next, do you want to be paying Paolo $54 million in 2030? Again, Paolo's going to be like, 29 years old at that point. It's not going to be a disaster unless he's like really injured or something like that. But maybe you can more manage your future, Giannis, on some shorter deals. And then, obviously maybe his competitiveness into those years, similar to Paolo's, would be about the same. And maybe not as well, too. Again, Paolo would be moving into his prime. Giannis, obviously, into a different part of his career. When Giannis at 40, he'd be the same as Paolo was at 29. Who knows? But probably not. But regardless, maybe this would make more sense from a wait-and-see standpoint with Paolo. Let's not panic too early, and the trade is a little bit more accomplishable from a salary cap standpoint in the offseason. But that was a name I was thinking about where I was like, I don't know if I would be surprised at this point to see Giannis traded for Paolo. Again, I don't know if the Magic are looking at this going, could we win the East with this core of Franz and Suggs around Giannis? But it could be interesting. It could be really interesting. And I don't know if, again, is Suggs better than Drew Holiday the year they won the finals? Is Franz better than Chris Middleton the year they won the finals? The answer is probably no to both those. The answer is actually definitely no to both of those. I mean, as much as we love Suggs, we're just going to be biased. We're just going to biasly shut down the Suggs Drew Holiday comps and say, well, we'll need to see Suggs actually, have it happen with Giannis as a teammate in the final, or whatever version of it, compared to what Drew Holiday did in helping that team actually win a finals. If Suggs has a steal and a lob to Paolo Banchero in the finals, the way Holiday did to Giannis, then, obviously we got to pay him their respects at that point. But it's obviously an upgrade from where he's at this point in the Bucks situation, the sort of the long-term maneuverability there as well too in Orlando. It's like Giannis with a young core and the ability to build a team around that, I don't think is a bad thing as well too. There does of course become that, hey, can we get everybody on the same timeline? And yes, they would like if he gets, of course, again traded to San Antonio. Wemby's probably not in the trade, though. That I guess, hey, Chet. That I mean, we can't I guess write anything off the table. We could I guess maybe make a joke about something in Texas. I don't even do we want to go there? But would we be shocked? I mean, we would be shocked. We'd be shocked. Oh, Chet, I can already see it. Again, the Spurs wouldn't do it. The Spurs wouldn't do it, Chet. There's no way. Brian Wright would trade Wemby for Giannis. There's just no way. Imagine they're like, well, we're throwing in Ryan Rollins and pick, whatever kind of pick swaps. Like, do we have to look at that, chat? I guess just because we can't not have our own team in a trade machine scenario. We have to be fair to the entire league. We can't be biased and only talk about, they're going to give us Giannis for free. So we're going to throw Wembanyama in the trade for Giannis. If Luka can get traded for Anthony Davis, can anything happen? Hey, wait a second. What would it have to be? Oh, man, Kevin Porter Jr.? Well, if I'm the GM and they're like Giannis and Kevin Porter for Wemby, I'm like, no, of course not, chat. Of course not. But, and Jericho Sims? Okay, I mean, maybe there is a way we can get talked into it. I'm not sure. And, again, listening to Simmons talk about this, they were saying that, do you have to throw the brothers in the trade as well, too? I get it. There's probably also, the minimum contracts. There's probably a way to work around that. Maybe there's an agreement of some release and sign and release, catch and release sort of situations. I'm not sure. Maybe that's crazy. I'm not sure. But, I'm sure you can still get them on the team even if they're not in the trade. But regardless, maybe we're safe from the fact that Wemby's on a rookie contract at this point. Giannis and Miles Turner, they're like, well, I mean, those three guys next to Fox, the way Fox is playing, and Castle and Harper look like studs right now. I guess again, it's too much. It's too much money. That would be going back. Pause. We'd have to give him Wemby and Fox for Giannis. It would be insane. Wemby and Harrison Barnes in the expiring chat. It's already too much. It is what it is. Kelly Olynyk and Wemby. Chat. I don't think anybody's put Wemby in the trade machine at this point. Again, we're not serious. We're not serious. If you hovered over the thumbnail and you're like, what's happening? He's got Wemby in the trade machine. Who is this guy? You can check the jersey chat. We're not actually trading Wemby for Giannis. We're just saying, like, again, I guess what are the craziest scenarios? So maybe we even also ease our minds by finding out that the trade would honestly be too unrealistic at this point. But again, is anything on the table? I guess if it is going to be crazy, Harrison Barnes does have to be in the deal. It's a 3-for-1 with Wemby in the trade. Oh man. Oh no, wait, what is Ryan Rollins' contract? But he's on a salary increase. Maybe that's a benefit though. Maybe that's a benefit. Wait a second. I don't know if we get a breakdown here. No, I guess not. Not for the incoming anyways. Pause. It would be if it was somehow more, more outgoing than the other way. Pause. But we might be safe. They might have to 3-team it and bring in a third team to get Wemby on the Bucks for Giannis. If it were a possibility. I'm not sure. I guess it would be Olynyk and Harrison Barnes. We're trading our whole front court for Giannis and Ryan Rollins. Does this even work? Wemby, Harrison Barnes, and Olynyk for Giannis and Ryan Rollins. Is Brian Wright have to think about it? Failed. Oh, thank goodness, Chad. Thank goodness. We're over by 12 million. Okay, so it's still not a little bit close. Ryan Rollins cannot be traded till January 15th because he re-signed using bird rights with a 20% raise in salary. And the Bucks are over the cap. Okay, so yeah, shout out. The league really thought that one through when they made that rule. It's a good thing that that's in place, Chad. We can't be trading guys with 20% salary increases before January 15th. That'd be crazy. I don't know what the players were thinking when they thought that they could get trades before January 15th. But hey, make no mistake, not happening. But I guess there's really there's no other player that we can. Luke Cornett. Who else can we throw in this trade for Giannis, chat? Hey, this is a ghost, by the way. It's just an energy drink. It's nothing too crazy. We're not, I guess we're not going any other, pod style here. All of a sudden, what kind of shots did Rem take in the break? And now all of a sudden we got Wemby and Giannis in the trade machine. It is what it is. But okay, so maybe that can't happen. That can't happen. We could look at the other potential Spurs for Bucks trades, but again, if we're going big names for big names, Wemby for Giannis may be off the table. But yeah, did we give enough thought to the Paolo to Giannis trade as well? Maybe we just run that through the trade machine one more time and see what we can cook up here. Jonathan Isaac, I don't know what his trade value is at this point. Jace Richardson, maybe, I don't know, Michigan State kind of headed back up that direction a little bit. I don't know. That just always gets thrown into trade machines. Like, well, he played at Michigan State. That's like closer to Milwaukee. Obviously, they would trade for him at that point. Isaac and Banchero would match the salaries for Milwaukee anyways. I don't know if it would work from an Orlando side of things. Again, speaking of third teams, you would probably have to actually bring in a third team for this one. Cap impact for Milwaukee, minus 23 million. So yeah, it's lying to us a little bit on the trade side of things there, because it had the ingoing and the outgoing, pause, at the same amount, but different for the Magic. So, I mean, Franz being on the bigger salary would make more sense. And, of course, just in theory, I guess the pair of Giannis and Paolo is what you would have, is what we would consider, again, sort of the building block more so pair going forward. But again, in terms of, because it's not just what can the other teams get for, or what can the other teams, I guess, keep around Giannis in terms of building a title. That's obviously part of it. But again, this is Giannis we're talking about. What can the Bucks get for Giannis? And as much as we have the Luka trade to compare it to in terms of, I guess, shock factor, value, whatever, just in terms of the fact that it happened, we can compare it to that deal. But of course, we didn't know that was happening. So I'm trying to, I guess Durant, of course, but Durant, because of where he's been at in his career, the trade value there has been the conversations there have been a little bit different. I don't know, and maybe he started getting traded back at 31. I don't even remember, but the player at this level, at the peak of his powers, getting traded, we'd have to pull a list of players back up to try to remember who even it would be at this point, but at least those guys aren't getting moved outside of, again, Doncic as well too, but to have the dialogue about the trade and what could be discussed and, again, just the names that could potentially be brought into it, like Banchero would be the most value, obviously, at the Magic, or that the Bucks could get from the Magic in the deal. So yes, again, would Paolo and Giannis be quote unquote the ideal combo going forward? But maybe as a single building block, it would make more sense to get Paolo back in a deal for Milwaukee. And again, you still have the same core as well too if you were able to more make an even 1-for-1 type move. So I guess if Giannis is there for some reason if we're running this back part 6, because like we said, every month now it's just Giannis trade machine until it happens. If we're running this back part 6, and depending on how Paolo is playing then as well too, we will see what the trade value is. But that will be an interesting one once the contracts even out a little bit. And I guess the Eastern Conference competition as well, too, would be something to consider. But, again, even bringing in Paolo, you could still maybe talk yourself into trying to build a competitive team around that kind of soon. But, you're going to be on maybe a different timeline, and Orlando's going to be trying to compete for titles. Maybe you have a season where you try to go up in the draft or something. The expectations, of course, become a little bit different. A rebuilding Paolo-led team versus, okay, even now, not to say that the Magic are not, a young team that aren't, do they quite have championship expectations? But at least, again, at least there is like a same timeline factor there thing. And, they have been together for a couple of seasons, Franz and Paolo as well, too. So it is the time where you should say, okay, if this is the core, like this core should start doing something. But again, you don't really have a core at that point if you're resetting for a trade type of scenario in Milwaukee. But yeah, that was a name that I was definitely thinking about. Who were the best players at this point that we could see moved for Giannis? And the Towns trade as well too is one, just again, who is a really, really good player that you could get. I guess is in some ways is them bringing in Miles Turner. For some reason, does that make me think more or less likely that they get Towns? But again, I don't know, bringing in a player like Towns, yes, you have other veteran guys, but I assume that you're going to want to rebuild, obviously, if you're trading Giannis. So if you go the rebuilding path, then, having that younger guy, so that's what I'm saying, like Banchero, obviously, just gives you, like, in theory, that runway to have that rebuilding roster. Then Towns, and he's already been kind of established as a quote-unquote, is he a number 2, respectfully, on a title team? So if you lock in your number 2 on a title team and he's already, in the prime of his career, and now you have to go out and again find your number 1 on a title team somehow, it is also, do we get just a veteran, a professional, maintain some, obviously good level of play, and then a guy to just have a, center a team, right? I get it as well, too. There is that maybe sort of Miami theory of just having good players on the roster. I don't know if it's only Miami that has that theory as well. Maybe we look at Miami as a trade option. Bam is a little bit in that Towns category of maybe you want to see him more in a situation where he's got another star player next to him and that team is a little bit more ready to win now than him being sort of the centerpiece of a rebuild. Again, 28, is still got, hopefully a lot of good years ahead of him. But this Heat team does feel like the best version of him is because he's still not even the best player on this Heat team in some ways. Norm Powell's still, and I guess, not the best player. I'm just throwing that out kind of blanket statement. But in some ways, again, there's always been another guy that has been carrying the offensive responsibility, main scoring responsibility on the team. And Bam, can really lock down the defense and has been great at that. So there is that 1-2 punch that if you have a scoring guy, then yes, you're ready to go. So maybe Bam and Ryan Rollins is like the combo that you need. Hey, yo. But I don't know if, again, for Giannis, Bam is like this is as pro Bam a pod live stream as you can get. Make no mistake. But just in terms of the timing, Giannis for Bam and what this Bucks team should become, it's probably a little bit different. And I know they just signed Miles Turner as well too, but we all understand, why they did that. And the Miles Turner's, I guess in some ways, has he been untradeable? He's like, we're back in the Miles. Can we trade Miles Turner? But I feel like maybe the Bucks could trade Miles Turner. I don't know if they'd be willing to sell a little bit lower on him if you get a good haul with Giannis, and then just the idea of clearing some cap space and then getting some assets back could be interesting. But again, it's like we have to do something if Giannis is still on the team to try to at least be a competitive team. So Miles Turner is the guy we can get. We got to get Miles Turner. So they can't necessarily trade him right now. But again, if this Giannis injury is going to put a little bit of a pause per se in the trading talks, then of course Turner has the chance to run out that extension part, or they just the off season, 3 years, $25 million, maybe in the the new cap era. It's not looking 25, 26, a 29 player option in 28. Okay, wait, let's just go the trade machine here. Let's just go Turner for Wiggins. There's really no reason for this trade to happen. I don't know why Miami would do that. Maybe Turner and Bam is trade buttons up here. Pause. Hey, yo. But just to see where we're at with Turner. Turner cannot be traded. December 15th. So he can be traded in 10 days. So I don't know if that would make it easier for the Giannis deal to go down. But maybe if they trade Turner somewhere and then somehow clear up cap space to trade for Paolo, who knows what is Paolo the guy that they're targeting? We're breaking news here on the REMINGTOM pod. The Bucks should be targeting Paolo. Is that how we work around it? See, the breaking news is they should be targeting Paolo. Not that they are, or not that they have been, because we how can we say we have no information? But what we can say is Paolo is a good young player, and maybe they should be targeting Paolo. So breaking news, REMINGTOM pod says that Giannis or the Bucks should be targeting Paolo. I don't know if, again, does that mean the Spurs shouldn't be targeting Giannis? That's not what we're saying. I'm just saying Milwaukee, is Paolo better than anybody that they could get on the Spurs, I guess, is the question. Because, and, again, speaking about Simmons, but I think, he was kind of maybe speaking, we're not, it is what it is. But, I guess Spurs fans would share the same emotions as he was expressing in this moment. He was saying that, you wouldn't want to, of course, trade Harper and Castle for Giannis, as good as Giannis is. And that's, not to say that we were there in the offseason. Do we check the tapes? But we didn't have Harper yet. We had the number 2 pick. I guess we had Harper because we were going to draft Harper. But it's clear that he's pretty good. So, in Castle, like taking the step forward that he has this year, how many steps forward, I guess, is he going to take over his career? I guess, that's ultimately the question. But just the fact that he is progressing, even year to year, year 1 to year 2, it's like, yes, that's what you want to see. So has he become, a 25, a 26 point a game scorer in the league? Will he ultimately become that? But could he get to 24 a game? I don't know if he's going to be like, is he play a lot like Jaylen Brown per se? And will he get to say even, Jaylen Brown right now is a guy that can put up 30 a game and be even, like we said, all consistent all NBA level player. Will he be one of the 15 best guys in the league in a 30-point a game score? So maybe, a kind of a couple years ago, Jaylen Brown type of guy, like a 24 a game, really good, respectfully a really good Robin type of guy, where, maybe Jaylen Brown's moving into kind of a, his own Batman territory himself, Chad. Again, respectfully, I'm not saying he was never a great player before this. It's just sort of how we stereotyped the roles that him and Tatum had on that team. Tatum being the best guy, quote unquote, and then Brown being the second best player. But between, of course, the Finals MVP and this run, I mean, it's pretty. I guess I don't want to say it's pretty clear that they're the same level of guy, because there is, of course, that playmaking element that Tatum does bring that I think is a little bit more creative than Jaylen Brown at times. And maybe if it was, you took this version of the team and had Tatum at his best with this team, I guess what is their record right now? Is this current with the records? I think it was. At least pretty current. 12-9. I guess here, let's double check this team. With this team, with just if we took out Brown, we're not saying that Brown has the Achilles injuries, but if Mazzulla was like, this is the experiment I'm going to try, I'm never going to play Tatum and Brown together in the regular season, Mazzulla would be a coach that would do that. So maybe it would be likely even if they were both healthy. But Tatum, I guess, chat, hey, yo, hot take, Tatum for Giannis. Tatum's hurt. Do you get Giannis and Jaylen Brown and try to win the title this year? Hey, yo, Tatum off the Achilles, he won't be the same. I think Tatum has tried so, I don't know if there's a pause, but I think Tatum has been so committed to the recovery that if they traded him for Giannis, that'd be hilarious. I don't know if, again, he wouldn't be committed to just returning and playing for Milwaukee. That would probably be devastating for Brown as well too. I think that, well, I guess I don't know. I can't say. The sources can't say that. Are we the first ever pod? Sources can't say that this would be devastating for Jaylen Brown. We don't know, but I imagine that again. There would be a little bit of a bummer. Not to say that he getting to play with Giannis would be a bummer, but the legacy of those two guys together, I think they're kind of committed to it a little bit. I think, and again, I don't want to say that Brown is in some ways fortunate to have this year, but regardless, it is what it is. He's going to get a good chunk of the season or all of it where he is the lead guy on a team, and just, maybe even though, I don't know if we can, again, we're not saying from sources, but what that can do mentally maybe from just a positive usage standpoint. But it's like, hey, he gets to be, again, a number one here, and also not even really have the expectations as well too of, again, they need to be competing for a title in any of that. And, now he's got to go back to being a number two with Tatum, but it's also like, he's got to go back to winning with Tatum. And again, he was a Finals MVP with Tatum on the team, so guess what? He can be successful with Tatum on the team. I think he's probably fine there. But again, it is a little bit, hey, yo, I guess now we're the ones throwing out historical comps, and we can't even make this, but it did feel a little bit more Jordan Pippen-y, where again it was like a 1-2 Batman Robin situation, but it does feel maybe a little bit more. Is Magic and Kareem sort of the right? And again, what are the best versions of teammates that have ever played in the history of the league? But again, they're up there as well too for those type of guys. Obviously, not the same amount of rings at this point. At this point, hey yo, but not the same amount of rings as MJ and Pippen or Kareem and Magic. Not even close. Hey yo, shout out 11 between those duos. We got only one right now between Tatum and Brown. But, it's so much more difficult in the modern NBA. Hey, yo. So that one title for Tatum and Brown's like 3. So if they get one more title, then it is kind of like winning 2 trilogies, honestly. And especially if you could, if you throw in Achilles injury in there. I don't know if that's how you count it in 2025. But, yeah. Do you just trade Jaylen Brown for Giannis at this point? Jaylen Brown's playing so well. Hey, yo. Again, I don't think you trade. Hot take. You probably don't trade any of these guys, but could you trade? They're not in the second apron, so could you trade Derek White and Simons for Giannis? That would be a graphic shocker. I'm not gonna lie. If it was Derek White and Simons, I mean, good players. Maybe Hugo Gonzalez. I don't know how many of the other guys you'd have to throw in here. And what do they have for picks? I guess 12 future picks is not nothing. Let's see here. Quick water break. Hey, yo, we've got 2026 first, so we do have to remember the stipend rule, where, of course, they're trading picks. Spurs hold the right to swap in 2028. Got him, chat. Derek White trade, shout out. But they do have 2030, 2031. I guess they don't have 2029 as well, too. So can you go 2031 first? I guess you could go swap in 2027. I saw a Lakers trade. Was it Bleacher Report posting a Lakers trade, and it was like a swap in 26, 27, 28, and it was like, okay. I mean, I guess that is trade value, but also I don't know if you want to trade Giannis for like 5 pick swaps. Hey, yo. Maybe you get a little bit more assets. Rui Hachimura and 5 pick swaps might not necessarily be the move. But if Boston has to add in a couple of those, then maybe that wouldn't be so surprising. But if you kept your 2027 in there, and your 2026 pick, again, it's not trending to be like a great pick this year if they're kind of an average team. But it is a stacked draft, so at least you're just getting a piece. And White and Simons are good as well to win. Now, guys, you can always flip them for more assets. White and could you get more from Simons and White than you could from Giannis? I think that's really what it is at the end of the day. Is this pretty close? This is pretty close. Oh, this would be terrifying, Chad. This would be terrifying. Giannis, Brown, and Tatum would be, oh my goodness. Oh, this would be unstoppable. Oh, Chad, you hate to see it. Of course it's not. Oh, it says it's 0 wins. It says that White and Simons are apparently, whatever the stats are, that they're equal to Giannis. Again, I guess you might be able to add up the box scores between those guys and equal Giannis, but I still don't know if the Bucks, well, I guess this year they might still win the same amount of games. I don't know, Giannis Ewing theory. Ryan, it's a lot of backcourt guys in there. It's all Kevin Porter, Derek White, Simons, Ryan Rollins, and Bobby Portis. Can they win less than 500 without Giannis? Maybe, Chad. It might actually be possible. So, and then they don't have their own pick this year, right? Hey, yo, I feel like we're getting worked up. I don't know. We got Kellerman back in the mix. I don't know if it's getting us, bringing that old first take energy to the show today. They do have their first round pick this year. Oh, chat. So they kind of have. Oh, is it lottery? Is there something going on with it? Do we have to check? Okay, it's their own pick. It's incoming. I guess Atlanta gets the better of New Orleans, Milwaukee unprotected. Ayo. Is there some sort of Jazz situation here? 13 unprotected to Atlanta. Atlanta gets the better of New Orleans, Milwaukee gets other. Okay, so I guess we're moving too quickly to be able to process whatever these swaps are, but they will have some version of a pick this year, I guess. So no, Atlanta has that's what it would be. Atlanta has the New Orleans version. So New Orleans is going to help Milwaukee have their pick this year. I guess the question would be, do they have to, is there a version where they still have to give a pick down the road just because they didn't have to turn it over this year? But yeah, as long as they don't necessarily tank out all the way to the top, I guess the worst case scenario would be you get, but they still get a pick, right? So if New Orleans is the one that gets left out, they get Derek Queen. So shout out. We're not saying that disrespectfully. Just to say what is the situation. That's what they end up with out of this trade. But so if the Bucks end up winning the lottery and then the Pelicans go to 6th, then Atlanta would take the Bucks pick at 1, and the Bucks would get the New Orleans pick at 6. Is how I understand it. I guess I don't know if New Orleans could fall to 6 necessarily. Maybe they could only fall to 4 in this situation with how the lottery plays out. But I guess regardless, like we're saying, or if they just go on a winning streak or something, maybe they could up their odds that way. But I guess either way, to say it again, the Bucks will have a first round pick this year, and Atlanta will have a first round pick this year. But New Orleans will be the one that's left out, and because they're the higher of the options right now, Atlanta is taking the New Orleans one. But I guess if they do end up tanking, it will be a good pick either way. So it may not be, again, the number 1 pick. Atlanta's in a great spot. Hey, yo, they're going to have Milwaukee over here tanking without Giannis, and they're going to have New Orleans tanking with Zion. So, I guess more Duke guys headed to New Orleans to try to solve the problem. We'll see what happens there. But, or I guess, not, because it's going to Atlanta. Oh, chat, sorry to the New Orleans fans for just throwing that out there and mistaking that for a second. But yeah, they will, I guess, either way, get a player to add into the mix this year. And then if they have Boston's 2026 pick as well. So wait, where is Boston at? They're at 21. So they're winning some games. They're not even going to be in like a potential surprise lottery situation, I guess. But it's still something. Caden Boozer, imagine, chat. You're Milwaukee, you get Derek White, Simons, and both the Boozer twins. That could be something. I guess, again, you'd have to get the number 1 pick in order to get Boozer. Unless Peterson, who is set to return, really starts to continue to pop up. Dembasta as well, too. The ranking can shift, but I guess Boozer just continues to keep playing better and better. And if you go back to like the Team USA stuff as well too, we'll have to get. I mean, Sam will be calling in anyway before the end of the year. It is what it is. We're gonna make him. I guess we're gonna ask. We're not gonna make him. We can't make Sam do anything, obviously. But we're gonna ask him nicely, and I'm assuming that he's gonna want to try to stop by before the end of the year as well too. But he is somebody that is kept up with the Boozer twins in the Team USA stuff, in some of the practice type of highlight type stuff. So I know that he has maybe won some MVPs and just been some of the best in the competition over there. So not surprising to see him emerge out of these group of guys as well. Pause. But it could switch up enough to, I guess, have Milwaukee. And then again, I guess in this fake trade scenario where they get this Boston first round pick, it is potentially for them to get both Boozer twins and Ryan Rollins. It really becomes building around Ryan Rollins at this standpoint, I guess, if you are trading Giannis. But it is, again, a trade that can happen. I don't think you're necessarily committing to this. You're probably going to see a couple, if you can get a swap or two more in this situation, and then if you can get a lower salary guy just because, like, why not? Ron Harper Jr., shout out. Ron Harper Jr. is, I would, shout out, throw him in, chat. Why not? Take a swing. But Manoit, could you get Manoit as well, too, on a minimum, recently signed? If you could get Manoit and Derek White and Simons and a couple of firsts, I don't know, chat. I don't know. It's starting to stack up. Okay, it is failed, but it's failed because Manoit cannot be traded till the 15th. So maybe we need to wait the 10 days as well, too, for some of these recently signed to start expiring. I don't know if there is a free agency day that we need to, I guess, was free agency like July 15th? Usually it's like that first weekend of July, right? Like the July 4th weekend or something like that. So maybe some of the later guys signing would have been the December 15th timeline, or it just would have been that anyways. Who knows? But yeah, maybe that is a day to keep in mind for, because again, seeing a couple of these guys at that deadline now, maybe it becomes easier for some of these teams to maneuver around that time, or actually, again, process the deals as well too. But hey, I guess we gotta put Boston on the team. I hate to do it, and I think that is, and again, maybe I'm just being pessimistic, or I'm trying to somehow subconsciously now all of a sudden not get Giannis on the Spurs because the cost might be too much. And I don't know if, again, I'm not saying that we're not willing to pay it. Maybe we just have to go to San Antonio now as sort of the baseline team. And I hate to say the names, I hate to throw the players in the trade machine. And again, the problem is you're trading for Giannis. So unless the league just wants this to happen, then are they going to take expiring contracts only back is the question. So you could trade some of the picks for this season as well too. Again, we have some of the future picks. So if we kind of front load, what we give them in terms of first round picks, then maybe, again, we have our core for right now as well too. And Giannis, Wemby, and Harper, and Castle, and I guess I just put Giannis on the team, but I guess if we trade for him, that would be the core with, like we're saying, the young guys. I mean, Fox is signed as well too. So it's not like we don't have in theory a roster there to compete. You would still, of course, even need the depth, but hopefully even like the Carter Bryant pick continues to be successful as well too. And he just is again, a really productive rotation guy. Who knows, even a little bit more as well too. You just obviously we'll have to see. But the idea for us to be able to recoup some of that depth a little bit later in the draft, if we needed to, we could have that flexibility as well too if we really gave them a lot of picks early on here. And you would have that, of course. Do you want the later picks because sooner they'd be better with Giannis? Are they going to be worse picks? But again, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. So in theory, is there, and with respect to what the guys in the Spurs, again, Harrison Barnes has been super impactful, and Kelly Olynyk gives you good minutes when he plays as well too. Kornet on the recently signed, again, are they gonna take the Spurs back up front court for Giannis, and then a couple of picks? I'm not gonna start saying the young guys' names, but it's like, are they gonna, is Sohan and Barnes and Olynyk and picks gonna be enough for Giannis? So again, as much as I love Giannis, I would basically, there's no other player in the league that I would want to have than Giannis. But you've got to, at the end of the day, be smart about building a basketball team. You've got to have 5 guys that can compete against the other best 5 guys in the league. You've got to have the ability to maybe have some versatility as well, too, with some bench options. So, yes, the overpowering nature of Wemby and Giannis would be nice, but it is very difficult to maneuver in the cap with some of the front-heavy teams in 2025, and the depth the Spurs have right now and the cohesion that they can build going forward does seem to be, obviously worth the risk, I think, to gamble with this group of guys, at least at this point. And if Giannis gets traded in the next month or two, then I don't want to say it is what it is, but if it's also potentially sitting there in the summer for San Antonio as well, again, maybe a whole other selection opens up for Milwaukee and what they could trade for, but maybe the Spurs, just are able to pounce then as well too and commit to something. But I don't honestly think that he's going to go to San Antonio at this point as well too. Okay, if you would have asked me in the summer before some of these guys started playing, I think it would have been possible. I think you would have said, yes, we have to kind of see what Wemby and Giannis are. But now, it just seems too tempting with this core. And, again, the Wemby injury, whatever that makes you think about how they're playing right now. But it still is pretty tempting, the upside of this team. So I would consider some of these other just teams that are, again, if they can move the contracts around like White and Simons and be like, hey, we're not necessarily messing up our tax situation as well too. Do we have to re-sign Giannis long term? Even, that's definitely the most favorable trade we found as well too, because you're not necessarily saying, are we re-signing White and Simons to 2 more contracts after this? That's still a very similar timeline for those type of players. And then again, the picks. If you're winning titles a couple of times there with Giannis, Tatum, and Brown, maybe you can sacrifice a couple of those first-round picks as the tax for that. And I know we've said it before, but I do think the Thunder are the team that you have to watch in this situation. And they're 20-1, so it's like, okay, I mean, you're going to mess up a 20-1 basketball team, but I mean, again, Hartenstein gets you half the salary cap. So not to say that, again, is Hartenstein the guy that you'd want to center a trade around if you're Milwaukee? And as good as Chet has been in New Orleans, again, this becomes are you trading the front court for Giannis again? But if it's Chet and Hartenstein, and wait, from the poison pill side of things, that is going to get too risky. So honestly, maybe them having to keep Hartenstein is going to favor this trade for him as well too. And they have maybe some cap space here to work with. We'll see. Maybe the Thunder aren't a threat. Who knows? That would be nice, honestly, if they were a little bit handicapped. Shea for Giannis, okay, probably. Giannis is great. Probably still not going to trade. Well, I guess, again, is anything off the table? So Shea for Giannis, do we have to just run that through the trade machine if we if we had Wemby for Giannis in the trade machine? We have to have the crazy options as a potential, we have to discuss it anyway. So Shea is $38 million, Giannis is $54. You can go Shea and Giannis. I mean, you're basically there, Chad. You don't need much more than that. Hey, yo. But you got to make the contracts work. I mean, Isaiah Joe? Is this too much for Giannis? Shea and Isaiah Joe. It's 50 to 54 for the salary, so it may be pretty even. Do we have to throw in Ryan Rollins back, chat? Pause. Hey, yo, maybe just throw in Ryan Rollins. I'm not sure. But or AJ Green? Ooh, that could be, I don't know, I don't want to profile Presti here, but that could be a Presti type of guy. Giannis and AJ Green for Shea and Isaiah Joe. Let's see if AJ Green made that a little bit too much here. I think this might work. If we can get the Fanspo to load. I'm seeing Green across the board on the tax space and the salary cap. Oh, we failed there. Is it dates? AJ Green cannot be traded. April 17th. Okay, AJ Green is actually off the board. It is what it is. Oh, Shea cannot be traded this year since he signed a designated veteran contract extension. Okay, so Shea is also at the board. So see, there you go, chat. There you go. Maybe Shea becomes available in the summer of 2026. Who knows what happens in the playoffs, I guess. But, okay, so I guess they can't get Shea. They can't get Wemby. Hey, yo, chat. Maybe the Bucks do really just say, hey, let's just sit, Giannis is under contract for a couple of years. Let's just, take a break. Not, trying to say it disrespectfully. I'm just saying, maybe not just panicking on the trade is the move. And then also, is Giannis going to lose trade value? Again, time is going to pass, but are you going to give up less to bring in Giannis if he's sitting out the rest of the year and we're going into next year? I highly doubt it. So Jalen Williams is the other one. I guess they're both on poison pill contracts as well too. So wait a second, let's go back to that Chet real quick. He becomes 42 million receiving that contract, and then sending that contract again only 13 million. So I guess they don't have as much cap space as I thought to be able to navigate that. But let's see here. I guess let's just throw Isaiah Joe in and see what happens again. From a standpoint, again, it's saying Milwaukee matches, but OKC is way off, so I doubt this is gonna go. Yeah, it's not gonna go. We're over by 22. So wait, what is it saying? Milwaukee. Oh, Milwaukee would have 16 players. Okay, yeah, we can make that work. I'm sure we can find a guy to waive, or we can just trade another guy back as well too. Brooks Barnhizer, he's $0 on a two-way contract, so I don't know how that works in a trade machine type move, but maybe it benefits them here as well. Okay, OKC may just be quickly off the board. Again, there is do we trade all of our role guys for Giannis? And Dort and Caruso, I guess, could be interesting. Hartenstein and Dort and Caruso for Giannis, like, it's a good team. But, I don't know if it's the rebuild that you want to necessarily center around. I think we threw out Halliburton for Giannis a couple of trade machines ago. So I don't know if we need to run it back or just pause to make sure that is even a possibility. Halliburton taking your team to the finals, see him and Doncic both get traded before they play too many games after that would be kind of interesting. And yeah, Halliburton is $45 million on his salary. So it is pretty close. Can you just go 1-for-1 with that deal? You can. So the Bucks in theory get 2 wins worse. Is that because Halliburton's not playing this year? That could be. And then if you're the Pacers, immediately you're like, okay, Giannis and Siakam and Nembhard. Siakam there for 3 years. Again, Halliburton's 25 and a great point guard, but I don't know. In the East, can you win if you got Halliburton for the next 8 years, let's say? I know you could say a decade, just make it easy, but if you have him for the next 8 years, are you going to win? Is the over-under 1.5 titles? Like, are you going to win 2 titles with Halliburton, or is it a half a title? In 8 years, can you win 1 title with Halliburton? If you have Giannis for 4 years, is the over-under still a half a title? So that's what I always try to think about with these trades as well, too. And that's what I was trying to think about with the Davis-Doncic trade. And, of course, you just couldn't quite get there with the timelines. I mean, the Cooper Flag thing, of course, like it does just everything, brings a whole new timeline to that element. But if it was a Anthony Davis-centered team versus a Doncic-centered team, the over-under for a Doncic-centered team in his years is just going to outweigh the over-under for a Davis-centered team in his years as well, too. But, again, an over-under for a Giannis-led team in his years might actually be the same as a Halliburton-led team in his years. Now, again, some of the names that we threw out. Wemby's over-under for titles the next 8 years the same as Giannis the next 4 years? Probably a little bit more. So, you're probably not going to trade Wemby. Is Anthony Edwards have an over-under of 1.5 titles? He's probably at a half a title as well, too. But, there's that bias sort of extra half a title that you're going to give him as well. So maybe just full title if you're a Minnesota fan, hoping it's 2 titles. So is it kind of an unofficial 1.5? Can you go like a 0.75? I guess it doesn't really make a difference between half a title and 0.75. You can't really win on the decimals there. But yeah, I think that is just like an interesting one to. It's interesting, obviously, in the 2K world. Maybe it's not as interesting in the real world, but I guess the accomplishability of it is definitely there. And I think it makes more sense for Milwaukee to get Halliburton than, Towns. I know that that's not necessarily a hot take, but I don't think those, well, they are a little bit, I think, separated in maybe the standing in the league at this point. But again, timeline-wise, you can actually rebuild around that guy versus, what are we, is it kind of a DeRozan versus for Kawhi type trade? I think that would be a fair comp if it was Giannis for Towns. And here, let's just go to the Knicks anyway, since we're talking about him. Because, yeah, Towns is at 53, so it's basically a 1-for-1. It's not Towns and Anunoby. I guess maybe the only way, if you're talking to me, if they're phoning in, maybe is Milwaukee one of the teams that would call the REMINGTOM pod for advice. I'm not sure. But maybe they would consider, I guess, is there another contract that you're trying to, would it be Kuzma? Kuzma for 22, and then Bridges. Bridges is on the recently signed, so I don't even know if Bridges can get traded this year. And now, is Giannis and Kuzma and Brunson and OG better than Brunson, OG, Towns, and, Bridges as well, too? You start doing the math there. I'm not sure, but at the end of the day, having Giannis and Brunson is a terrifying combo in the East. So maybe you just bet on the two-man game there. Do you get Hart back in this deal instead? Hart at 30 versus Kuzma at 30, and then Towns. I mean, again, you're basically just swapping out what your team is at that point. I'm built around Giannis, and then I have Kuzma as a role player, and now I'm built around Towns, but I also have Josh Hart as a role player. So that's maybe a little bit better there as a role player, but is my best player good enough to outweigh that? It feels like the team just took a step backward, and now I have less asset potential, for what I can acquire maybe for the Towns part of it, respectfully there as well too. So maybe a 2 for 3 potentially, OG and Towns, just to get as much potential. Again, how much can we recover from these two guys if we need to down the road? Are these two guys good enough to make us a playoff kind of team sneakily as well? It's not going to be Turner, Kuzma, and Giannis. You're just trading all your best guys at that point. But Portis at 30, again, recently signed. We'll see what the deadline is here, but maybe you could talk yourself into that. $92 million to $89 million. Oh, man. I don't know what the most salary has ever been traded before, but this could be up there. Have we ever had $100 million moved in salary? We've definitely seen it before. Ooh, this trade would be zeros on the wins. And it is good on the salaries as well, too. But Bobby Portis also December 15th. Okay, so this is, I guess, if we were to do a Knicks trade and it wasn't for Brunson, I guess yes. So we would, if you're the Bucks, you could probably talk yourself into some kind of Giannis for Brunson deal, but the NBA wouldn't let that happen. You're gonna want Adam Silver steps in and goes, no. The point is to get Giannis and Brunson together, not to trade them for each other. Maybe, I don't know if he should have stepped in on the Dallas trade, but clearly, I guess, he wanted Luka in. It was better to have Luka and LeBron together, I guess, than, Luka or LeBron and Davis. It is what it is. But Portis can actually kind of help you win a title as well, too, and not to just disrespect Kuzma by not mentioning him, but maybe if he's the third best player in the trade, and maybe not the salaries, but again, the third best player, then that becomes a little bit more manageable, and you could actually see yourself getting a decent return for Towns and Anunoby if you flipped them down the road as well, too, for something else. I don't know if the trade for the trade, again, is the move you want to make, but if we have to mention Giannis to the Knicks, I guess this is where we would stand at this point for a trade that we would be okay with. But we're also not even getting McBride back in this trade. Hey, you'd kind of want to get McBride, honestly, as well, too. Too bad we phoned in the trade before we thought about that, chat. Hey, would have been nice. But that's why we're not running a team there. We just failed the audition. Yabusele? Can you get Yabusele? But he's probably a guy. You got to keep him, chat, if you're trying to win the title. So, yeah, it would have to be McBride. Does he make the deal not happen? 97 to 89? Yeah, he may push it over the top. We may have to throw in Ryan Rollins. Oh, no. We're still good. It says you're under the allowable income by 15 mil. Oh, and you're under the allowable by 7. We're good, chat. We're good. So, yeah, this is okay. This is it. If we can call the league back and make this work, phone it in. This is actually not bad now. Miles McBride makes all the difference in the world, chat. I don't know, but it's a little bit more, pause complete of a team. At least you have a lineup there in a way. Throw AJ Green and Ryan Rollins in there, and that's not bad. Towns and, I don't know, be McBride, Greens and Rollins. It's at least a 35-win team, so, there's something there. But, yeah, that would have to be the New York Knicks trade that we would like. I was trying to think about some potential Pistons to maybe see if Giannis could play with Cade. Because, again, I don't know if you would say Cade would be. That would be up there with the surprising names, honestly. Because, not to say that him and Paolo, similar timelines, maybe potential whatever. But, of course, the seasons that the teams are having are very, very different. And I think Cade is responsible. Not to say that Paolo hasn't been in the past, but I think right now Cade is a little bit more responsible and successfully as well, too, in the Pistons unit than, Paolo has been so far for the Magic. And if you have to start giving up Asar as well, too, like Asar has been very good this year. So not to say that again, he's untouchable in a Giannis trade. Like, that does become quite a big statement. If you compare Giannis and Cade together, sorry, Chad, I just was like, what are we watching here? We got the press conferences ended graphic on League Pass, and the Flash is playing on TNT because we had that, remember that Cincinnati Xavier game in the background. Let's see if we can do a quick remote switch here as well too. It can be a little difficult sometimes to get the right signals going to the right TV. But let's see what else. We still have the Sun Belt Championship still going in the fourth quarter. Oh, the equalizer, chat. Hey, yo. The equalizer or the Sun Belt Championship? James Madison at Troy or Denzel in the equalizer? It becomes quite a difficult debate. Oh, or I Want to Dance with Somebody as well, too. The Whitney Houston movie is on. There's been a little bit of a Whitney Houston run. Was that BET? Did they have the Bodyguard on there the other night? I was like, hey, yo, it's actually Christmas time, chat. The best Christmas movie of all time, The Bodyguard. Do we have to, I don't know if we have to do like a Christmas movie actor ranking, but I don't know if Whitney Houston would be one that you would consider like, hey, yo, like who are the best Christmas movie actors of all time? But, you know, can you consider, I guess, is the Preacher's Wife is a Christmas movie. So I guess The Bodyguard, is that a Christmas movie because there is like the snow setting at the end? And The Bodyguard is a Christmas movie. Again, we're not trying to do like a Home Alone debate here, but I would actually go the other way with a lot of it. I think, you know, consider anything a Christmas movie. Like I get the real sort of, you know, the template Christmas movies of like what the actual genre is. I guess to me, there's two genres. There's, okay, this is technically a Christmas movie, and then this is a movie that you, I guess, can watch around Christmas. Wait a second. Are we out of NBA games, chat? Is it just the Thunder Mavs on Prime? Do we have to pull up the Prime on the phone? We might have to. We don't have Prime on the TV setup yet. Are we got to put a rerun on? What would be the best rerun for tonight? Whoa! Maybe easy pick, chat. Denver versus Atlanta. Denver winning in a 1-point game. Okay, I guess I don't know timing-wise if we'll be able... Oh, I guess to watch live. Is it going to make us watch the press conference? Okay. I guess we'll watch the press conference for Denver-Atlanta. It is what it is. We'll see what happens there. Or we'll just watch the press conference. We'll resume shortly graphic. It is what it is. But either way, Asar, pretty good for 2025. Pretty valuable. But you do, again, have the Harris contract, so at least you have a big number you can throw out there anyways. And a lot of cap space as well, too. That is kind of surprising. I guess as much as we do love Asar, you know, if you compare him and Cade and Giannis, and you can kind of just give Giannis those wing responsibilities for this season immediately, then again, you know, obviously this becomes a way better team. And now it's like, you know, I don't know if winning the title becomes a possibility. Can you match up against the Thunder this year? But also we're not mentioning even Duren as well too as a core piece guy. And honestly, Duren could be a guy that if you're Milwaukee, you could center a trade around him, I think. You know, is he going to be the best player on a title team? That'd be a little risky, but he is like a real advanced stats darling, and just the value of him, I think, as a center, what he could provide is very, very useful and can play with anybody. And again, maybe his playoff value, sort of team value, is a little bit more than like his actual just box score numbers. But I guess he is a 20-point a game guy as well too. So I mean, he's really improving there as well. I think you could see maybe if he did just have a little bit more freedom, it's like, okay, just cook on this team. Like, you're free to do whatever you want. You know, maybe he does get unlocked in a couple of different ways. And he is going to need signed as well too. Asar and Duren. I forgot we threw Asar in this trade. So if you're Detroit, it might have to be one or the other. Like, honestly, it's a little bit different than Derek White and Anthony Simons. Make no mistake. You're definitely taking this one if you can get it. It's 41, and I guess here, Giannis. They do have the ability to, I think, just take in some of that salary as well too. Yeah, this might be the easiest team to actually trade him to, just in terms of the numbers. But Duren, Asar, and Harris. I guess I'm not going to... Okay, we can't report that Detroit wouldn't do this, but what we could say is I don't think we would do this if we're Detroit. Maybe if we were consulting with Sam again, maybe he would say that you just have to trade for Giannis in this situation. But Sam, I think, is pretty pro Asar as well too, so I think he would probably from the Asar side, be like, yeah, we're good to keep Asar. And I'd be like, yeah, we're probably good to keep Duran. So maybe we just don't end up trading for him at all. But wait a second. If we take, and I don't even know which one you'd rather have if you're Milwaukee, you'd probably end up saying to yourself Asar just because of the wing value in 2025. But I really would consider Duran because I don't know. I don't really know what Asar is going to be at this point, I guess. So I don't know if he could be, again, the best wing on a title team. But I think Duran could, like literally like we're seeing right now. If you have a Cade level, I guess, that's a specific type as well too. But if you have a Cade level perimeter creator, I think Duran could be the second best piece on a title run type team. Pretty close anyways. His game, like we're saying, definitely continues to improve. So the salaries, I guess Asar is a little bit more, but like we're saying, it may not matter. So I don't know if Tobias Harris and Jalen Duran works. It honestly might. Wait a second. Let's just see what we get here. Failed. What are we looking at? Okay, so we do need to mess with the financials here for Detroit. And wait a second. Is there a poison pill situation? No, I don't think so. Just need to match the numbers a little bit better here. I guess you could, do you make the sacrifice and throw in Duncan Robinson? I guess probably LeVert, because Robinson, I guess, I don't know, the LeBron metric here is a minus 0.02, and LeVert hasn't been bad on this team. Make no mistake. I guess Ivy, didn't even mention Ivy as well too. He becomes the other wild card centerpiece because he hasn't really been there that much. And I think Ivy has been really talented, but again, they've done a lot of this without him. So, again, can you get two of Ivy, Duran, or Asar? It seems a little rich, but Ivy and Duran might be possible. I think Ivy and Duran is definitely more possible than Duran and Asar, or Ivy and Asar. So I don't know why, but maybe it is. So let's see what we're looking at here from a salary. I think we were 12. Ooh, that does work. Is this the best trade we cooked up so far? Again, the Towns Anunoby McBride trade is kind of fun because I guess it does get Giannis in New York. And, like other people have said, there is always that. And I guess, like we were saying earlier, the paths for the trades, of course, there is that path where he just says, hey, I want to be on the Knicks, and they have to trade him there. But if you could get Ivy and Duran, and we didn't even throw in picks in this trade, I'm assuming you could probably get a pick or two. That is a very interesting core to have going forward. Of course, if you just get those guys back, then you're kind of, okay, we have those two guys, but then where's the extra flexibility with the draft picks, extra potential that we need in that future that we don't really have as well too? That becomes something that, again, you're going to need to recoup in the trade. But the instant players, and you're going to have to re-sign these guys as well too. So Duran is a little proven, Ivy as unproven, but if you're the Pistons, maybe you get around that a little bit as well too. I think you're probably not like super hesitant to re-sign Ivy, but Giannis, Cade, and Asar is a pretty crazy trio for the next 3 years. And Giannis and Asar alone is a defensive combo that would be just mind-bending to watch, as much as you would say like Giannis and Wemby, of course, would be. I mean, Giannis and Asar would be as well too. And then Cade offensively is a better individual playmaker than Castle and Harper. I mean, at this point, and maybe will be as well too. Again, would we trade Castle and Harper both for Cade? Probably not. But Cade is clearly very, very talented. It's I'm not. We don't have to think about it. No. We wouldn't do it. Holland, you're keeping Holland in this situation as well too if you're the Pistons, and they've got Bobby Klintman. I don't know how you say the first name there. Was he also a first-round pick, I want to say? Here, wait a second. Can we look up the... Okay, second-round pick. 37, though. Kind of a higher second-round pick, but was a first-round talked-about type of guy. So I don't know if you just, are able to get a guy like that back as well, too. Wendell Moore. Oh, I don't know. Because he had some moments, I'm not sure. But this is not bad. Duran is really, really good. Duran and Ivy and Tobias Harris for Giannis, and then chuck in a couple of picks as well too. The 2026 first. Hey yo, there's some swap rights in here. You'd have to, I guess, see what interests Milwaukee, but that is not bad from a team standpoint. How many more teams do we have to look up on the trade machine here? Maybe we'll do one or two more trades, and then we'll hit the Spotify Wrapped recap and see. Yeah, we'll expose ourselves. What were we listening to in 2025? Up next, I guess. But do we send Giannis to Sacramento? How dare we, chat? There was talks for Giannis to the Clippers. The Clippers historically have been the death franchise for players. So I don't know why we would even want to entertain that idea, chat. Do we want to end Giannis's career? Do we want to end it and just send him to the Clippers? I think Bogdanovich, even Bogdanovich is 7 points a game. Chat. James Harden, I guess, has had a little bit of a revitalization in a way, and just maybe the sort of lack of expectations, and Harden can still put up stats. Like, that's kind of more fun than, I guess, whatever it was before, even though it was still, obviously, it was crazy fun. And the nostalgic James Harden Houston era posts, those are all, always ones that we enjoy watching, those highlight reels for sure. But yeah, Chad, if Giannis goes to the Clippers, that would be amongst the biggest, respectfully to the Clippers franchise, amongst the biggest bummers that we've seen. And there really is, again, for me personally, with respect to the Clippers players, not really a version of the trade that for Giannis, I think would make sense to make. I think there's a lot of great talented players here, but Kobe Brown, Chris Dunn, Bogdanovich, and Derrick Jones Jr. Can you get a collection of the young talented players? I guess maybe not Derrick Jones Jr., but is there or Chris Dunn? But are there guys that you could get? I don't even know. But you're not gonna start building this trade with John Collins. Make no mistake, and they don't have picks to trade as well too. Maybe the 1 or 2 picks they do have end up being super, super valuable as well. But yeah, if it has to be Collins is halfway there, and Zubats is good. We're talking about Duren being like that building block center. I think Duren has a little bit more upside than Zubats, but Zubats is, again, a clearly established guy. So you're getting close to the salaries and making that work at 44 and 54. This could be a pretty manageable 3-for-1. And again, Bogdanovich as well too. But do you want 3 28-year-old plus players that aren't as good as Towns or Anunoby as well? I guess Towns and Zubats. Do you want to have your arguments there? I don't know. But is that a battle? Towns versus Zubats. Who's better? You're not going to trade Kawhi for Giannis, or trade for Kawhi for Giannis. It is what it is. The Kawhi 1-year title rental, if he just goes to Milwaukee and wins the title in Milwaukee, would be, maybe the most mind-bending thing in NBA history. That would really be like Stranger Thing upside down type of timelines. But yeah, the Clippers better not trade for Giannis. I don't know if the Lakers can, but there was also the word on the street of Davis for Giannis. And again, I don't know if I would do a Davis for Giannis trade. I think, Davis is clearly, we're pro Davis here. It is what it is. We think he's a pretty high level player. But again, you just, I think, put yourself in that DeRozan Kawhi situation where how much more are you getting back? And, Davis getting traded for Luka and Giannis would be like the craziest. This player got traded for those guys in NBA history. And also just the guys I guess he got traded for in the Lakers trade. There's some good players in there as well too. It's a good trade. You get Ingram and Lonzo Ball and Josh Hart and Dyson Daniels. Maybe there's 1 or 2 more guys. Was Jordan Hawkins part of that trade? I'm not sure. But, I think for Milwaukee, it wouldn't really make a ton of sense to just be the same team with again, respect to Davis from a pro Davis pod. And I'm just maybe reducing the argument down again to make it simple and make it why you wouldn't trade for Davis. But you're not going to trade for, a less healthy, quote unquote, worse version of Giannis and Anthony Davis, an older, less healthy, worse version of Giannis. With respect to Davis, not saying that at their best, Davis is not as good as Giannis. He's as good as anybody that's ever played. He's a super talented player, but I just don't. It makes sense for Dallas to trade for Giannis and have Giannis and Cooper Flag. Make no mistake, but I don't think if you're Milwaukee, you're centering that trade around Davis. It is what it is. I guess Cooper Flag, yeah, sure. Is that a micro fraction of a discussion? Probably not. I guess you were thinking Giannis and Davis at that point. It is what it is. Is there, Davis, Kyrie? No, there's no. Gafford, I don't think he quite goes in that Duren tier. Maybe Lively does a little bit. He's maybe a slight tier down, but obviously super talented. If it was Lively, Najee Marshall, and Gafford, I don't know. But I don't know if the Mavs outside of Cooper Flag make a ton of sense. Again, maybe there's a trade value standpoint where Davis, I guess the contracts are the same. They're on the same contract. So that's easy enough. But it doesn't really do anything for Milwaukee outside of just, again, give you a different type of best player. And I don't know if that's what you're necessarily trying to get out of this trade. Maybe you want a little more defined path on what your future is going to be on the outcome of that. Chicago, who else do we look at here? Do we look at Philly? Is there a, would you entertain? I guess Philly's kind of rebuilding. So if it was like a, if we're getting hot takey here, like a Maxey situation, they don't necessarily, I guess maybe you could say Edgecombe, of course, is the Franz, but since he's a rookie, and they maybe don't have the Suggs and the rest of the team as well, too, if we were saying, comparing it to Orlando, why would Paolo be a little different than Maxey? I think the, Orlando core is a little bit more set up if Giannis got interjected in that. Like, you're like, ooh, could that core actually, with the step forward that Giannis could bring them as well, too, of course, be competing for the Eastern Conference. If it was Maxey for Giannis as the centerpiece of the trade, I think you're still a couple of moves away at that point from the Sixers, of course, competing for the championship, Eastern Conference championship. And that's, with, of course, this version of the team with Embiid and, Paul George not really being that active as well, too. I guess with them just in general, of course, there's that timeline where, yes, if Embiid and Paul George get healthy and awesome, then they're super good with this lineup. But, we're just assuming that we start scrolling from the Sixers team, like right here, and this is their team: Maxey, Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, Kelly Oubre, Jerry McCain. Again, with all due respect, but yeah, they just are not really logging the minutes this year to be worked into the lineups. It is what it is. Would you? I guess, has it been thrown out any like jaw for Giannis type stuff? Again, I'm trying to just scan real quick. What are the crazy franchise, like real franchise player type names? And again, Ja, real franchise player type name, but he has been. So you got to give him the credit for that. We're not calling him a has-been. I'm just saying that, the levels, obviously, that he has been at a trade value have been pretty crazy. Portland, do we have to keep an eye on Portland? Also seeing Utah there, like marketing for something. But, Giannis going to Utah, what does that do? Is Portland a sneaky Orlando contender in that? And then Giannis and Dame reunited. Imagine. That was the plan all along. Shaedon Sharpe on the poison pill. I guess we saw the difficulties of that. So now Drew Holiday being used to trade for Giannis. Oh, chat. I mean, the craziest 3D play of all time by the Blazers. If they pulled that off. I don't know if Jeremy Grant would be the preferred trade guy. I mean, obviously it's Avdija as well, too. But I guess they don't really have like the big contract or the random 20 mil. I guess, again, Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday would be that. Would it be Jeremy Grant and Denny Avdija? It'd be a little bit interesting. And then Scoot. Would you give up Scoot in this deal for Giannis? Would you trade Scoot for Giannis, chat? Let us know. DM us at the Remington Pod. Okay, we're getting close with the salaries. Let's just run this quick and see what we've got. Again, I think you need some more picks, some more players. Jeremy Grant, Denny Avdija, and Scoot Henderson, probably not quite enough. But it is starting to get to something. And then if you're I forgot about the... Ooh, chat. You got to get Henson. Oh, imagine. Henson, Avdija, Henderson, and Jeremy Grant. Is this a trade that they can make? A 4-for-1? How many picks are you getting back in this deal? Is there anybody left on the Blazers? You've got Drew, Matisse Thybulle, Shaedon Sharpe, Klingon, Chris Murray. So Giannis and Klingon and Shaedon Sharpe in the West. Hey, are they just fine in the West? I don't know. So is Scoot, do you keep Scoot in this situation? Henson, Yang, Denny Avdija, and Jeremy Grant? Ooh, chat. And then, okay, they don't have their first round pick this year. They have a ton of 27 seconds, so maybe they can throw a couple of those in there. Ooh, the 2028 via Orlando. Oh, they also have Milwaukee's, Portland will receive the more favorable of the 2021 pick. So they also could give Milwaukee their own pick back as well, too, from the Dame situation. Okay, we'll just throw that in. Control of the 2028 pick. Maybe they also give them this Orlando 28 pick as well, too. I guess, they just give them their 30 back. Imagine you make up 0 ground as a team for trading away Giannis. You get your own picks back and Henson Yang. But maybe it's enough. Maybe it is enough. And then you throw in the 2022 first rounder just to see. I mean, we'll see what we can happen. I don't know if you make a couple of those other ones swaps. Okay, this does work. It's not bad. I don't know if Henson Yang is the building block that you were thinking about when you were originally scouring the market, but Advia is really good as well too, and still has a lot of career left, and those are some, I guess, some years for him. Will he have a career left by the time he gets to the 2032 pick? Hey, you're not really building a cohesive team here. You get a little something every year for Giannis, pause, as a part of the trade. But -5 wins, hey, you really got to think Yang would literally have to be Jokic in this situation, which I guess, is it off the table? I don't know. But is it, I guess we don't want to say, is it likely? Hey, we got to be fair. Got to give him a chance. We got to give him a chance, but I just don't know if you would commit to that as the potential trade package for Atlanta. So we'll give it a break there. Of course, we could continue to scour all the teams. It is what it is. We'll see when we revisit the Giannis trade machine where it's at next time. But after the break, chat, we'll be back to wrap up with the Spotify Wrapped reactions. Of course, it dropped after the Tuesday live stream on a Wednesday. So, we'll end the live stream by going through the React, because, again, it's been a couple days. I feel like a lot of the Spotify React sort of just the buzz in the air is, of course, just that initial conversation. But it is what it is. I guess we got to go through our playlist. We got to expose ourselves. It's only fair. Everybody else, it's the most vulnerable you can be, I guess, as we all share what we were listening to, in all honesty, because that is the thing. I can sit here and constantly check the tapes. What did we mention we were listening to? We're just bumping. Obviously we just listened to In the Club and Ambitions as a Writer on repeat all day. Obviously, what are the coolest songs of all time? Obviously we're listening to those, but then somehow this Spotify Wrapped playlist just has all these other random songs. So I guess we're going to go see whatever those random songs are that it says that we're listening to. But again, you got to be honest. At the end of the day, the plays are the plays, what we're getting the plays, and we'll find out, chat. 2025 Wrapped reaction reveal right after this. Okay, chat, we are back. I guess since we were mentioning Whitney Houston earlier, and we were talking about we went to the Bodyguard, check the tapes. We were talking about her, and we got the Spotify Wrapped here that we are going to react to. I mean, since we were talking about Christmas movies, I guess Whitney Houston being a potential Christmas movie actor, Waiting to Exhale is on Tubi, so I was like, hey yo, we gotta throw that on just to remember how much of a Christmas movie is it? How much of this movie takes place during Christmas? Don't tell anybody, chat. Don't tell anybody that we're watching it. I guess again, can you blame us? Hey yo, Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett, Loretta Devine, chat, Leah Roshan. Am I saying that right? Also, you just get Gregory Hines and Wesley Snipes spitting game for a couple minutes. I mean, hey yo, classic. So I mean, I'm pretty sure. I want to say when Gregory Hines shows up, is it winter or not? I guess that's the part we have to remember. Is Christmas scenes. There's definitely Christmas scenes in this house or not. I guess since it's in Arizona, maybe the snow situation is the part that I'm not core. Like, okay, is there just because there's not snow on the ground? Does that mean it's not necessarily Christmas time, or am I just thinking of Whitney Houston being in The Preacher's Wife and somehow just putting that on this movie as well too? Either way, we're watching it. Am I complaining? No. But yeah, for Spotify 2025, we got I guess cut off the part of the playlist here, so that way we don't spoil the first couple of songs that are on the playlist before we start scrolling down here. So like we said, chat, there is no lion at this point. We have to stand by our takes, and I'm not gonna lie, we stand by it. Ayo, you see people out here, being like, hey, yo, like, oh, this song is what I, do people for some reason need to defend their Spotify Wraps? And obviously we've been there in the past as well too. I'm like, oh, has this not been where I've wanted it to be? I remember last year we had 3 Killer Mike songs as our top 3 songs. I was like, that's not what I was expecting, and definitely, reflects probably where we were at the beginning of the year, more so than where we were at throughout the course of the year. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, you know what? I love the Killer Mike album, so I'll stand by that. And just because, like, and again, I think once you kind of do the math of the streams, it does become a little bit easier to figure out what is the top streams. Obviously, it's not a spoiler. And I guess we can say it without revealing, specific songs as well, too. But, like GNX being, of course, a top album this year, just in terms of the minutes that you're going to play, the amount that you're going to stream those songs, it was released, of course, at the beginning of the Spotify Wrapped cycle last year, or, released near the beginning of it. And that album starts the new Spotify Wrapped year as an album that's already being released. And that compared to, like the JID album or the Clips album, of course, you're just going to have more time spent on the service over the course of the 24, how many months are in a year, chat? Over the 12 months, and the time and the amount, that you're just going to have to stream those songs, again, is going to be more. So, yes, it can, at the end of the day, be whatever song from whatever the time of the year, as long as you're playing it enough. But, again, it can't be stacked toward those releases at the beginning of the year, or the songs that, again, you're bumping at the beginning of the year as well too, because there's a couple of like older songs that, again, hey yo, I'll stand by all the songs that are at the top of the list here, but it's like if I'm starting, of course, to be on that song at the beginning of the year, if I play that song once a week in the Spotify year, I'm still guessing, we're talking about a 52-ish week year, 48 week year, and again, maybe I fall off a certain song enough where I don't play it every week, 6 months from now. But if I just am still playing this song at least once a week, every week from here to the end of the year, it's going to rack up, of course, just by nature of that, 50 plus streams. So maybe there's a week where, again, I am playing a certain other song like 12 times during, several times a day during this week or 2-week stretch, but I'm not playing it a ton throughout the course of the year. Then it can get the, maybe a similar amount of streams. But again, is the time sort of spent listening to the song? So some of the songs can accumulate up in the rankings over again, a certain amount of time as well too. But again, at the end of the day, maybe that's just the most, I don't want to say most comfortable, but just maybe the most variety as well. Not even variety. It's still kind of the same amount of artists, but we didn't have 3 songs from the same album in our first 3 songs. So maybe the reset from that was a nice change of pace. But again, we were really enjoying the music this year, even going back into the 2024 drops as well too. So, again, I obviously really love all these songs. So, and I'm not saying that I don't, what would be, what are you even embarrassed to listen to for music at this point? I feel like there's really nothing embarrassing. People are literally listening to everything. People are listening to AI music. People are listening to people making parody music. And I'm not saying that, we're not judging people that listen to certain artists or whatever. I'm just saying that people are doing it. And there does seem to be at some point, okay, the person will be the parody artist, and then, a couple years or however many years, they'll move into being a serious artist. There's a certain fan base that they're collected, and maybe they even start to gain critical success as well too. I'm not saying that that's a storyline that would be shocking, but again, at this point, I feel like there's so much music, so much different type of music. It just, everybody, the recaps and the stuff, it is what it is. Like, I don't even know what you could get necessarily embarrassed in listening by. And I think maybe even it's going the other way a little bit, where because of the Wrapped and because of some of the stats, maybe the uniqueness in the fandom towards certain things, again, in a good way, is being celebrated as well too. Where it's like, oh man, I am, obviously maybe it's just a basic artist like Kendrick. Like, I was surprised how, high of a percentile we were in the fans for Kendrick. Maybe not because of how much we were listening to him this year, but again, with him being so popular, I was like, oh, us, chat? Hey, yo, can't believe we were, that high up the rankings. It is what it is. I think we were like 0.02% for Kendrick, which I think is the highest we've been for any artist ever in a given year. But, again, for a guy that's like a top 10 streaming artist, didn't expect, but we were in the top 10 of the top 10 of, the guy that was in the top 10. It is what it is. So I guess we're not necessarily, because it's individual people, everybody's listening to him. But if the bots were using us as different people, make the mistake. It was having a lot of different, we were definitely help carrying that way as well, too. But, and not to say that every song on here is a new song. I guess the third song, spoiler alert, from 2022. But, enough of it is newer, and it's all great, chat. It's all great stuff by great quality people, because we're listening to mainstream stuff as well too. So there is, I guess we'll scroll down the list. I'll forget what's in here. So there'll be some deep cuts from something, but I feel like everything's pretty basic as well too. So it is what it is. But here, we'll start by unveiling some of the screen. So our number one song of the year, and I said we're going to stand by all of our picks and we immediately go to making excuses, but just to explain our, listening habits as well too. Our number one song of the year, "What We On" by Jid and Don Toliver. So this year was I guess maybe we'll get a little bit more into this as well too as we get through some of the songs. I don't believe Spotify lets you see your top 20 artists played this year. Last year, of course, there was a way to dig into the stats and find who your top 20 listened to artists were. But this was a big year for Don Toliver for me. So I thought maybe he even had a chance to crack into the top 5. But also because of the new Jid album, and Jid just, I guess both these guys are 4 albums in at this point. I think Don Toliver is, of course, gearing up for album number 5, but have really gone 4 for 4 in terms of the complete album quality. And, Jid getting his 4th one this year. This is not a duo that has teamed up a lot together as well, too. And maybe, I remember when I first listened to it, it's, great production. So the beat all throughout this album, very, like I've said before, just a good array of different beats on this. And this is a real laid back production that is very easy to listen to. And the way that Don Toliver cruises on this, it's such a short verse, but it's such an easy, pause and easy flow on this. And then Jid as well too. One of the reasons that this was the most listened, again, it's a great song. So I stand, I guess this is one of those things where I was like, is this my favorite song on the album? And then, we saw the stats. I was like, okay, I guess it is. And I totally stand by it. The Jid and Don Toliver for the win, chat. Ayo, if there's ever a single and it's like Jid and Don Toliver on it, I'm like, okay, I'll probably like it. It's probably going to be pretty good. But this, again, maybe it being a more unique style for Jid's discography. I'm not even saying is it our favorite Jid song of all time, and maybe again the uniqueness of it was sort of lending it to being up for it being our number one played. I guess not even just again for the album for the year, over any of the clip songs as well too. There is, I guess, spoiler alert, a clip songs quickly approaching as well. But the cadence, the rhythm, the pocket, however you want to say it, that Jid finds on this verse is so crazy that I had to listen to it so many times just to even try to know what the words are, and I still don't even really know what they are. I just know there's something about intuitive and it's crude. It's something about intuitive, crude, and booty stank. I mean, hey, yo, chat. Like, I mean, there's a couple of words that stand out in there, but otherwise, I'm going to have to listen to it another. I think we had 92 streams on this one this year, so I guess it's not showing the number of plays on the computer version here. I'll just look up a couple of the top ones and see. Yeah, so this was the gap pause between 1 and 2 is definitely, I don't know, do we do a little math here and see? Because our number 2, which I guess we will reveal here, was at 69 streams, and then number 3 at 66, and number 4 at 66 as well too. So 92 to 69 was here, I guess, as we do the math here, is the same difference as our number 1, and I guess like our number, like our number 9 or number 10. Or our number 1 to number 2, like our number 2 to number 9 type of difference. So, and there was, because of again, us trying to learn the words, a couple of different songs. So I think our number 4, again, it's the same amount of streams as our number 3, but there was a day where we just we were just in the gym and we just throw this song on repeat and just play it for the whole workout. So we definitely, when the album first dropped, again, trying to get some of the bars for some of these songs, we're trying to just had this on repeat at the gym. And again, Don Tolliver, shout out. It is what it is. I bet he was in our top 10, but maybe because we were listening to him on some features and stuff as well too. There's another feature that he is on that will be up shortly that is a good one as well too. But yeah, shout out. I mean, this JID project was, I mean, hot take. Everybody loved the JID and the Clips album this year, but this was, I guess, one of the tracks that we were really bumping. And his cadences across the album are spectacular, but just the rush that he starts his verse with on this is insane. And I think on McPhee, I might have to play that one here real quick, that he goes really crazy on You Ugly as well. And then on, is it on, I never remember which is the song that is the chill cut between On McPhee and Of Blue. Yeah, On McPhee is the more of the trap hit. And he is going crazy on this. This is the East Side. We got to be careful navigating some of these lyrics at times. But yeah, his flow on this song is crazy as well too. But just the chill vibes and the crazy pocket that he finds made that very addictive listen. So the number 2, shout out Doechii. So I don't know if this means that JID's gonna win Best Album, because Doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal, also did. But this boom bap beat, again, a great beat where you just got kind of that old school production, and Doechii really dropping bars in this album. Of course, JID, a rapper that has always had versatility on his albums, but has, continued to improve that, even to the point where he got nominated in R&B this year. But Doechii in her first project, you see the full array. And this is, I guess I don't want to say her most pure rapping cut on the album, but this is, just a lane that is not something that she has and again, I guess that's really the only project that we're familiar with. I know she's only got a couple other EPs and stuff on Spotify at this point. Again, hey, it's early, so we're not complaining about it. We're just saying that I don't know if I ever see, and I guess who are we to say? She is such a diverse artist that, she could basically do any project that she is once. And I don't necessarily, though, in 2025 know if a newer artist would pursue an album of beats in that type of way, where, again, it leans so old school like that. I mean, again, as much as we love JID, very much, forward production, very much 2025 trap infusing, still making sure that it is, paying homage to the history and the sampling, all the different stuff, obviously, great production is both mixing, obviously the past stuff and pushing it forward in a new way. But again, just kind of the old school mentality of the, again, in the song title, the boom bap production that she's rapping over, it does, I don't know if saying prove her abilities is the right way to say it, but again, it is that lane that when you think of guys like JID, I guess, are we spoiling the third track here? I guess I got a little bit of it exposed. It is what it is. But, you think of, again, anybody in this lane, it's like hopping on and just kind of in a, I don't want to say in a J. Cole type of way, but even Kendrick, and I know Jid also gets compared to Cole, again, maybe sort of stylistically, but I think production-wise, he has been a little bit closer to Kendrick, where Cole has always had diverse production in his catalog for sure. But, I mean, you think about a lot of the middle run of that his career there with For Your Eyes Only and KOD, and even the offseason is definitely, you know, him going really crazy with the bars. But again, it is a very soulful production on that album as well too. There is a little bit of a darker element to it that Cole does kind of bring into some of it, but he's always been a very, you know, I don't know if Ye influenced is probably the right way to say it. Jay-Z as well too, and obviously Jay-Z, you know, working with Ye there and some of his more iconic projects. But that type of lane is again where this type of song feels to be is where it stems out of, instead of maybe, you know, again, the new age trap hits, the aux bangers, and there's every type of song on this album, and it, you know, they're all good. Alligator Bites Never Heal, I guess, mixtape, if we want to say it properly. But this was just, you know, that sort of unique old school type of rap cut as well too. That was just great to listen to. There might be a couple other ones. I guess I don't remember the entire list, but we'll see here. Yeah, of course. Hey, yo, SZA, chat. SZA was in our top 5. I don't know if we say our top 5 artists. Where I guess we've got 2 of them now revealed. Spoiler alert. We've got Jid was our number 3. SZA was our number 2. I guess we did already say earlier that we were in the 0.2% of Kendrick fans. So Kendrick was our number 1. And then, you know, Ye was number 5, chat. I don't, you know, it is what it is. I don't know if it's going to be that way in 2025. It's definitely, you know, like we've said before. I mean, you know, we weren't being performative if you check the tapes and say that the listening has dropped off. But like we said, the listening has dropped off because must have been really heavy there at the beginning of the year. It is what it is. You know, obviously it's Kanye West. We're not going to sit here and act like we're the only people listening to him. I mean, we can literally go look up his Spotify monthly listeners right now. But yeah, I guess we'll have to remember what songs as well too as we skim through here where we were bumping earlier. I mean, you know, the original trilogy is always going to be something that is just going to be what it is in music history. But like we've said, you know, that maybe it's not the most fun just revisiting his library at this time. So I will be interested to see just kind of where he naturally falls in 2025. I guess at this point, I don't know if we have to kind of put him in rotation timeout as well too, just for the rap's sake. You know, I'm not saying, oh, do we have to save face? Is it a bad look? Again, you know, I don't know if his monthly listener, well, we can't necessarily, you know, say that not what is on the table for 2026 as well too. Who knows? But, you know, who knows if his monthly listeners are really going to decrease? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying for us, like we're saying, there is an enjoyment to some of it where, you know, as of right now, it has taken a little bit of a step back. I guess we could go to the on repeat, but like, what do we prove ourselves? It is what it is. Did I say our number 5 as well? Freddie Gibbs was our number 5. Shout out. He was definitely somebody that I've been hoping has shown up in the top 5 as well too. You know, it's like, hey, yo, you're listening to this stuff, so I don't know why you could just listen to him a bunch and then get him into the top 5 that way. But again, you do kind of want it to be organic, and not to say that, hey, yo, why don't I like Freddie Gibbs more? But it's just like, you know, there is that natural progression till you find yourself going back to certain artists more and more over time. And, you know, your rotation can shift through phases of life. I'm not even going to say that the rotation that we're listening to right now is obviously going to be the same rotation of artists for forever. I'm sure it's, you know, it's immediately going to shift this next year as well too, I'm sure. I guess in some ways we had two of the same from last year, and from, you know, in the past you could have almost locked in that I was going to be the big 3, you know, in some order: Kendrick, Drake, Cole, and then throw Ye and Jay in there for your other. I think Nas has been in the top 5 before as well too, but, you know, Nas, Jay, one of those 2 guys, I guess, is gonna be in the past. I guess, you know, some Hit Boy as well too, because of, you know, obviously the Nas run, and then the, you know, his Kanye influence. So there is, I guess, what I was meaning is like there's a similarity in the sound there with Jay-Z and Nas and some of that soulful stuff as well too, that, you know, again, hey, yo, Boom Bap, our number 2, we like going back to. We have to rip through this list? We're at 2 songs, chat. It is what it is. Open Arms, SZA, number 2, SOS. But yeah, Thank You by Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. And this album, chat, super underrated. It is what it is. It got hated when it got dropped, And I'm not saying it's perfect from start to finish. I'm not saying that we even necessarily revisit. I mean, you see what we got saved here at some point. And this became one of the albums that was like, again, uh, obviously there's going to be certain songs that we save into playlists, and then we just know that we're going to be revisiting it. But, as soon as I listened to it, I was like, oh, man, Snoop and Dr. Dre are iconic. And maybe in our attempt to also be kind of counter with the way people are talking about it, it's like, yeah, we'll be one of the guys that likes this album. Screw it. Like, who cares? It's Snoop Dogg. You're telling me I'm gonna be listening to Snoop Dogg anyway. So more Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre production, I'll take it. But these songs are actually good as well too. I don't know. That needs to be a selling point. The couple of these intro songs are shorter here. The Foreplay is kind of more so just an intro track, and Shangri-La is again a little shorter as well too. But out of the blue, Hard Knocks, Gorgeous. And I don't necessarily revisit the Jelly Roll one a lot, but it is the most streamed. And Thank You are all bangers right out the gate. And all of these songs are super fun to drive around and listen to. And we might have to revisit the B side of this album as well, too, just to give it another chance. But yeah, I really stand by the first couple of tracks. Again, am I going to recommend the whole album to somebody? That's a task for anybody to listen to a whole album in 2025. It's nothing against the album. But I would definitely pitch somebody to listen to the album by saying, yeah, the intro, the first handful of songs of the album are really, really good. So, even if if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. It is what it is. But, if you don't want to sit down and listen to a full album in any type of way, then you can get through a couple of songs, maybe a couple of recommendations, and then be like, yeah, if I want to listen to more, then obviously it is what it is. But this was one of the ones that we just threw on the rotation at the gym and just listened to it like the entire time. And especially there's like a leg day, and there's a couple of workouts in our leg day cycle that it's just there's like a it is what it is. Everybody's got their different workouts, their different exercises that they necessarily don't like, but it is important to have at least a couple. I think in some ways, I don't know if we need to do gym corner here, but you're going to return to the exercises that you like the most. So it's probably important to make that a majority of your workout in a sense. Obviously you want to push yourself and make sure that you're challenging, again, you want to make your exercises challenging, but you do also want to have exercises that you don't like as well too, and make yourself uncomfortable in that way. So again, like, is our chest day going to be a lot of exercises that we really like? Yeah, probably. But, it's like, okay, we'll probably work in a couple, this routine, this sort of split squat situation pause on a leg day that maybe, and just maybe some of the entire leg day in general, who knows? It is what it is. Is it more, do people say they don't like the exercises, or is it just, like anybody, do we always want to be, have a little bit more on the bar? It is what it is. But yeah, this was one where on a couple of those leg day moments, we were just like, let's just throw this song on. Let's just zone out a little bit and get through this part of the workout. Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre will help pilot through. So yeah, number 4 is perfect, chat. This album, again, I think dropped a little bit later in 2024 as well. Oh, was it December? Do we have a date? Yeah, December 13th. So again, speaking of times played, this was perfect for albums that I would genuinely want to revisit. Because again, I can't necessarily rank this as one of the best albums of 2024. But some of the most fun songs of 2024 for sure, or the 2024-2025 era in that run. And for me personally, again, songs that I was really revisiting this year, an album that I would really revisit that first stretch as well too. So I think that's really definitive for me, and I love it. Dodger Blue at 7 by GNX might be our favorite song on the album. Again, we can really like those kind of middle vibe songs where I think What We On for Jid and Don Tolliver is definitely maybe falls a little bit more in the nighttime kind of cruising chill type track versus Dodger Blue. That might be like in a convertible with the hood down driving around type of situation, or at least, you got the windows rolled down. At least, obviously, TV off, Hey Now, Peekaboo, you're going to be bumping these songs in the aux as well as Squabble Up. I mean, even Whacked Out Murals is obviously a great song for the aux. I don't even have to say it like that. People know, I'm sure, the quality of that track. But yeah, that sort of just perfect middle cruising lane, which is not necessarily something that Kendrick has a ton of in his career. I do think that that's why Section 80 is maybe something that we like as well too. And I guess maybe you could say the jazzy vibes in a way of the of To Pimp a Butterfly. Hey, yo, chat. A couple of scenes and Waiting to Exhale. We might just be a little distracted. It is what it is. But, but yeah, Dodger Blue does fall in that range. And, obviously all this being post the beef, but Poetic Justice, which I think here, let me check where Poetic Justice was in my playlist last year. Because I want to say it was in the top 10, and I'm probably going to act like I don't remember it was in the top 10. It was in the top 10, and I want to say it was okay, maybe it wasn't in the top 10. Maybe it was a little lower down than I thought. Okay, a little lower down, maybe top 20. But still, was this our number one Kendrick song from last year? We had the Hillbillies. Our top 4 from last year was Scientists and Engineers, Yes, and Slumber, all off the Killer Mike album and the Hillbillies. So I think already, just in terms of a playlist, the top 5, top 4 that we have this year is much, much better. But yeah, our number one Kendrick discography track last year was Loyalty, and then Untitled 06, and then Poetic Justice. So shout out. Definitely, again, maybe we are Kendrick fans. Those are a little bit of deep cuts there. But Dodger Blue also does fall in that line. So Dodger Blue, Poetic Justice, the Untitled albums are a little bit like that as well. Black Panther's got kind of a mix of emotional and then kind of banger tracks. And, of course, Kendrick is more interludes and ad-libs and stuff throughout that as well, too, than he is, like, the main artist. But, yeah, Dodger Blue, I could stand by that as being, again, my favorite song off the album. It does change. We've had our moments. Hey Now, again, with any of the songs that you just bump driving around. I mean, obviously everybody was bumping Luther. I would say that, and GNX, we mentioned before, GNX has probably been our most played song off of the album over the last 2 months, but hasn't, of course, had the time to make the push in terms of the top 100. But I fully pause. I think I might have, been a little bit on the side of this, and you can see it's still under 100K streams as well, too. So I would have been on the side that maybe this is considered a quote-unquote skip, but now I think it's a must. I honestly can't wait to get into an aux situation where we can play this as well, too, and just see how it hits, because I don't know. I guess a certain one where we can't play this. It's not like if we find ourselves at a house party, we're going to be putting on GNX, but maybe if it's the right house party, who knows? Not the album, the song itself. If we're cruising around with Billy Buckets and the Champ, though, we'll throw on this song and see if they hit us with I forgot about this track. I do kind of like this one. And, see if they forgot about it a little bit. But, yeah, this was, I think, our most played album of the year. I think our top 5 albums were 3 Kendrick albums. And speaking of Black Panther, it was number 4. I could pull up our Wrapped here on the Spotify for you guys. But, hey, yo, as much as I want to stand by the songs, do we stand by everything on our Spotify feed? Is every playlist meant to be exposed? I'm not necessarily sure about that. Just maybe, out of respect for everybody else, well, too. So let's see what we got. Well, I guess, what does that sound like? But, I guess maybe just sort of professionalism. I don't know why we turned the volume down. The speaker still is going. But here we go. Top albums for 2025. GNX, Good Kid, Mad City. Oh, Alligator Bites Never Heal was 3. Shout out. Black Panther 4, and then Thriller 5. So when we went to San Francisco for the wedding, I don't remember if we said this for Sam's wedding. I don't remember if we said this on the stream or not, but when we flew out there, we had a couple of albums downloaded, just as you do, and one of them was Thriller, and we put it in the headphones when we took off. And the flight going in, the goal was, of course, I guess the goal could be to get some work done, but we knew that it was because we're flying Midwest to West, the time difference is favorable that way, and it was a early enough flight where I was able to get into San Fran early enough, get landed, get, in the room and situated. I was like, it's probably better to just be like, maybe a little bit more rested going into everything, and then you can just like work in the room and stuff more so than like trying to like work on a plane and all that. Like just sleep. I don't know if sleeping on the plane was the better move, but also I'd rather maybe speed up that time with a nap than speed up the time getting, right back and then like, oh man, I better take a nap now that I just got here. It's like, okay, it was a couple of, maybe you still even have time to wander around a little bit and then get back and maybe you can, whatever plane work you were gonna do. You had to watch Inside Man on the plane, so it was like maybe just watch that in the room instead. But I guess the point being, we downloaded Thriller, we threw it in the headphones on the drive on the fly out, and then we did fall asleep. So we did listen to that album several times on the flight out there. Again, it's a short flight, and I think for an album, maybe 4 listens. I guess we could look like maybe it's like 45 minutes on the runtime. So I don't know, falling asleep maybe I don't remember exactly. We fell asleep after takeoff, so it's not like we were sitting on the runway, just passed out listening to Thriller. But yeah, that would have helped up the runtime as well too. So I don't know where we got. Oh well, I guess maybe we do have a song quickly approaching here. We'll see. Cash Maniac by Denzel Curry. Again, another sort of chill vibe. Thank You by Snoop. Our number 1 aux banger from the year is hilarious, but I love it. So yeah, this is a, obviously a great album. Definitely the first non-2020s album that we've gotten. So I don't know if that says something about it as well too, but I think for us personally, that does. And, I guess we do have Jid and Kendrick up in the mix above him there. So, with us not necessarily listening to Drake as much this year, and we do have Freddie Gibbs in the top 5. So maybe the plethora of the discography as well too. He does have a little bit more than Denzel Curry, though. I don't know. We go playlist songs for playlist songs. It could be close, but I mean, Freddie Gibbs doesn't miss that much. Hey, yo, it is what it is. I mean, point being, we love Taboo. So we were really on this track this year. This is another fun nighttime drive. I mean, the nighttime drives are crazy, chat. It is what it is, but we're locked in. And this is Let's Prove Them Wrong. Debbie Taylor, number 7, shout out. I think this one was at like 40 some plays on the year, maybe 50 some. So this was one we were on early as well too. Speaking of Jid, a Jid sample from the Forever Story as well. I mean, used several times throughout hip hop history, it turns out. But if I was looking at the number here, what am I at? 47 for Let's Prove Them Wrong. So again, you can get it on a song, and I can already tell there's a song. What's it called? You're Gonna Need Me is the sort of the throwback track that I've been on lately. So this might be in my top 10 for next year, just because I can see myself like once a week being like, I might go back to that song, and it could definitely get 40 to 50 plays again if that's sort of the range it takes. If this is kind of settling into the last couple of years of our music listening. But shout out. And our music listening age, we should say as well too, was like 40 something, but maybe it was like closer to 50. I think it was 49. So this would have helped, extend that out a little bit. Pause. But there was a lot of 90s R&B. I think New Jack Swing, maybe that's a little some 80s in there as well too. But New Jack Swing was like our 3rd highest genre as well. So I think a lot of this is going to be in the same genre as well too. I think pop rap was our number 1. So, you got Denzel Curry. Kendrick at this point is pop rap. Snoop, I guess, is pop rap. Doechii might be. And Jid is, I think, pop rap, maybe technically as well too. I guess how do we want to assign this? But if we're also listening to Don Toliver for a bunch, then that's definitely going to up those numbers. Can we pick up the pace? Human Nature, Michael Jackson, number 7. Why? Tell him that it's... I don't know if we can necessarily hit the MJ notes, but it is what it is. Pause. And this is where we get the clips. So we got Jid at 1 and the Clips at 9. Clips and Kendrick, as you would expect. Us being Kendrick at our number 1, ended up being the number 1 song off of that album. I guess the number 3 song, 2024 for Dodger Blue and Thank You. So our number 2 song from the year, and if we're doing equality rankings, the verse from Kendrick on Chains and Whips probably ends up being better than the verse from Jid, even though, his speed is pretty fun on that verse. But yeah, that feature is, for us, arguably feature of the year. I do think that maybe Pusha T's verse on POV might be the best verse on the album. Initially, I thought maybe Malice on Ace Trumpets, if I'm remembering that one correctly, would have probably been in the mix. And then it would have been either that or Kendrick on Chains and Whips. I mean, Tyler on POV is great as well, too. And I have been bumping a lot of the So Be It lately, which is kind of in that GNX kind of sound. You kind of play those 2 tracks together. They kind of go pause back to back pretty nice. But yeah, we got Eclipse in the top 10. as you would expect. The Art of Peer Pressure by Good Kid, Mad City. This was a fun year for me to be listening to the cuts off of Good Kid, Mad City. So I guess, spoiler alert, like Shireen Master's Daughter is going to be way up on the list this year as well too. And I guess we said last year that like going back to Poetic Justice a lot as well. But the piano intro on this track is pretty crazy and was definitely a reason why this was played so much. Like, you have to go back and replay the song a couple times to make that piano intro like a full track's worth, if that makes sense. So it got in our top 10 as well, number 10. So shout out 3 Kendrick tracks in the top 10. The Black Panther album, I guess this also kind of sounds the same as well too as the Art of Peer Pressure. There's the same sort of similar piano vibe going on there. So that would have been, I guess, the number 1 track off of our number 3 album for 2025. Written in the Stars, Joey Badass, 2000 album. He is, one of those guys from that 2000s era, 2010 era that we obviously go back to listen to all the time. And the 2000s album was an underrated one. Obviously, his 1999 is the critical acclaim, but we were revisiting this one a lot. And the intro for this is him really dropping bars. I guess we'd have to go back and see if it's his best verse on the album, but he is really rapping passionately on this this track as well too. And I guess looking at the streaming numbers, a bit of a cut off the album, but classic. We got Don T on 100 Bags with Larry June and Cardo Wing. So this album is definitely a sleeper for 2025 if you hasn't listened to it yet. Larry June's one of those guys that can put out a couple different projects per year with some different producers, but him and Cardo were locked into this one. The sound that Cardo has here is really nice, and Don Toliver, again, just speaking of cruising on tracks, is able to just smooth very nicely, rap very nicely over these bars, these beats as well too. 30 for 30, Kendrick and SZA, again, I guess got the play over Luther. So I think we did claim when we were doing the Grammy, the Grammy, or just looking at the nominations when they went down, that we did gravitate toward this one a little bit more than Luther. And I do think that that is legitimately my favorite Kendrick SZA combo, would be 30 for 30. Luther is a great track, and that sample is crazy. Like, it's just, it's a glorious sample. I love hearing it every time it plays. SZA's going crazy in that, vocally as well too. But it's just a super fun sort of beat, and Kendrick and SZA, the back and forth is great. Kendrick's verse is, very playful as well. So it's just a great, R&B track as well too. And maybe just it not being as overplayed in public, of course, can't help. But hey, 14 shout outs. So yeah, 2 SZA tracks up there for sure. Definitely seeing, the top 5 push. Big X the Plug, we got him on a track from the deluxe version of Take Care, but this is once again kind of that soulful production as well too. So he does, of course, he committed to the country sound this year, and there is a little bit of that throughout. I think the Take Care sound, there is a little bit of like and I almost just want to call it like a Western sound, not even a country sound, but just kind of a Western Houston-y, as he's from there type of sound. But this is a little bit more, again, kind of traditionally soulful from his production, and a little bit of a shorter cut as well too. So definitely one that you can replay a couple of times. Mary's Joint, the sample from Weston Road Flows by Drake. But like we said, and this is one where we might like the original song more than the actual one. I mean, Weston Road Flows is like legitimately one of the best Drake songs. His verses on that are crazy as well too, but again, the production is obviously nuts. But the real track, I mean, if you could listen to Mary J. Blige, you might as well just do that. So it ended up in our top 20. I guess ended up helping us push that listening age to 49. So yeah, we do have, what do we got, like 60s, 80s, and then 90s in here. No 70s in the top 20, maybe not yet. Mirror by Kendrick. So a lot of the more chill tracks up front. I think, again, that goes to, and it's because the year in the Midwest starts in the winter. So you're starting maybe in just a little bit, I'm not saying like a down mood. Like Mirror and, obviously Mr. Morale is a very vulnerable album. But this is one that I do kind of sneaky really love the production to as well. And there is kind of a sound with the drums that is unique to this album. I mean, not necessarily throughout the entire song, but kind of in the beginning. There's just a fun, just the production on this track is really fun, and Kendrick's singing, really works on this as well too. I do like the passion that he brings to the track is really fun. So again, you start bumping some of these, like that is just, to me, it's kind of a cozy like Mr. Morale to me is like a cozy album. I know, again, it's vulnerable, it's him being very it goes in a lot of directions. It's very maybe not so cozy in the topics that it's touching on, but because the production is just kind of in this low key kind of vibe, and I don't want to say nostalgic type of vibe, but again, there is just kind of a lo-fi-ness to the sound that they brought there that does make you in kind of a winter snuggle up kind of mode, if we could say that. Does a thug snuggle up, chat? Hey, yo, what does Tupac say about that? But maybe he would to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I'm not sure. Hey, yo, pause. But there some of the low-key cuts on this one. And what's the other one as well too? Count Me Out's got the beat switch on it, but that is crazy as well too, with that kind of chill intro, and then the way the beat drop is on that song is fun. But yeah, Kendrick just like singing his heart out on this track, I really do like. I like when rappers sing, chat. I think it's fun when they try to sing. I'm not saying that, again, are they as good as other vocalists as well? I just always like the attempt. So it's like, hey, if I'm going to be kind of messing around with this, I got to try singing along to some of this stuff as well too. Like we could, I'll be singing along to a guy trying to sing along is a fun inception there. But again, Don Toliver and SZA, you can't beat Don Toliver's flow when it comes to like melodies over hip hop beats. It is what it is. It's too smooth, and SZA obviously is. I mean, we don't have to defend SZA. So this and Mir, speaking of, they both kind of have a similar sound that I'm thinking about it in those drums as well too. And again, Don Toliver and Kendrick do kind of sound the same on those tracks. So not surprised that they would be, at least for me personally, up there as well too. SZA, BMF, the guitar on this track is pretty crazy and very, very catchy. I'm not gonna lie, that whatever the guitar riff on there is, this was one that I do remember we replayed a couple of times because it's just infectious, whatever it is. And SZA does have some fun bars on this one as well too. SZA's always a bit of a, there's their inner, I guess we're just talking about the lane that the lyrics are in. There's like an emotional content to the lyrics. Hey, not trying to get too crazy there, but either way, obviously, it's great. Shout out. And she was our number 2 artist this year. So, obviously we're a fan of it. But yeah, again, the guitar on this one was absolutely crazy. So, and, Lana, again, I'm not going to say much, like Missionary wasn't poorly received, but I do think it has become a little underrated what that actual album itself is at this point. Not necessarily it being released as a deluxe, but just as a standalone. I mean, it might be, was it released in 25 or was that 24 as well? Yeah, that was 24. When was that released? Okay, December 20th. Hey, yo. So a Christmas gift from SZA. Shout out. It might be, if we say December to December is 2025 for music. And I guess there's so many different deadlines. There's the Grammy window, the real calendar window, and the Spotify Wrapped window. But I would say it could be in my top 5 favorite albums that were dropped in the last 12 months. It just again, the deluxe version, just the deluxe part of it itself is fun to listen to as well. We've got 4 Kendrick songs in a row. Hey, yo, I didn't even realize that when I first scrolled through, and I guess him at 17 as well too, so really taking up the top 20. But you see the Run in GNX, Hey Now, Heart Part 6, that 90s soul sample is crazy. I guess that is kind of the poetic, did I say 90s R&B sample? The poetic justice of the, I don't know if that's the fair comparison, but production-wise, that's the same lane, so I guess I'm not surprised that the updated version of that would fall in the top 20. TV Off as well too. Children's Song by Vince Staples. I'm going to have to re-listen to this one, because the one that I always think of, just if you were to ask me about that album, would be the Lauryn Hill sample, which actually is the one I started searching for here as well too. But I think kind of like BMF, this may have a similar like guitar style production. Let me cue it up here and see what we've got. And again, this is, what do we got for runtime on this? Like 213. Yeah, Chad, the guitar on this is pretty crazy. So the chill vibes again of this Vince Staple albums, perfect to get you through those winter months, and then you'll be cruising around at summer to this album as well too. But yeah, you just that little guitar riff, that you got to replay that song 100 times to just pause, soak up that guitar riff. It is what it is. Alligator Bites Never Heal, crossing in again. This whole run right here is, again, just Doechii in her bag. I mean, this whole album, there's not a skip here. But Profit to Boom Bap to Nissan Altima, this is where I think I would just start the album and just play these 3 songs in a row if I was, really going to narrow it down. Maybe even start with Wait as well, too. I think I'd actually probably just start with Stankapoo and go all the way down to Alligator Bites Never Heal. But, even if we're talking about, an album like Good Kid, Mad City, again, like I said, I was playing all the cuts on it, but there might be times when I'm like, I might actually, and this is actually pretty common as well too. Not to say that, again, you don't listen to thing up, who's not bumping Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst all the time, Chad. Hey, 12 minutes of trauma, it's great. No, it's obviously one of the best songs that's ever been written, but there are times where I do just like, hey, I'm just going to queue up Money Trees, Poetic Justice, Good Kid, and Mad. Maybe I'll just listen to these 4 instead. Or maybe I'll listen to the 3 songs at the beginning of the album this time. Like, obviously, hot take, not listen to start to finish every time. But, there are sections of the albums that really stand out. And for Alligator Bites Never Heal, that was a 3, 4, 5 song run that was like, oh man, we're cooking and now we're in overdrive. Again, there's just a laid back sort of old school level to the production of this section of the album that's really great. Money Trees, 26. Shireen's daughter, Master Splinter's daughter, is 27. Luther, 28. Jid back at 29. Work. We've got Dior. Oh, chat, we really went into the bag with the hits this year for our top 30. Dior at 30, but you're never going to not catch us bumping Pop Smoke. It is what it is. And I think this year it might be Element is going to make a push. We've been bumping that a lot lately. But, I mean, Dior is a classic. So, of course, I guess, we might have been running these songs together. Work, Dior, Mad City. I Ain't Mad at Ya. You can tell this year was a big year for piano riffs in rap music for us, I guess, because Art of Peer Pressure, Redemption, Written in the Stars, I Ain't Mad at Ya's got that opening piano riff. Black Panther, the intro track, does as well too. Very unique. So definitely something that we were gravitating toward. And there was because of the Super Bowl Kendrick halftime show and because of us going back and listening to the Dr. Dre one, there's a part where he does just real quickly like cut to this song. It made us bump this song for like 2 months in a row. It is what it is. Just going back and re-listening to that. Some Freddie Gibbs. The Alex Goose remix from this track, Robes, is probably, I haven't really like dug into the remixes and the deluxe versions of the Pinata album a lot. The original track list is kind of what I was mainly sticking to here over all these years, but I was kind of venturing out into some of the other ones. And this version of the Alex Goose remix, this Robes track, is probably the best, is probably the one song that I think the beat is a little bit better, or what he was doing differently with that beat really, really works as well too. So we had to run up the minutes played for Something Off Pinata this year, kind of getting on the remix version of it this year. Loyalty again, chat. Wait a second, was that my number? Was that again from Kendrick last year? Hey, yo, it was. Oh, shout out. We love this track. I mean, yeah, Rihanna and Kendrick. It is what it is. I guess I've caught myself, chat. Is this a top 5 Kendrick song for me? I don't even know if I would put it on there, but I guess it is. Hey, yo. Stand Up Guy, T.I. We were bumping T.I. like crazy the first couple of months of the season. There's Count Me Out. I mentioned it earlier. Of course, it had to show up. Comfortable, Lil Wayne. The little Kanye production there. Maybe we can't listen to his actual music, but maybe we'll listen to some of the beats that he made. Is that our way to get around it? Some more Good Kid, Mad City. There's Poetic Justice at 43. Kendrick and Playboy Cardi. We were we probably ran this song on repeat for like 4 days in a row when we listened to it. So maybe when I was talking about that earlier, this is the one that I was mentioning. Like, Let's Prove Them Wrong by Debbie Taylor, consistent plays throughout the year. Cash Maniac, that was that. Taboo, classic album, something that we just kind of will be, like, what do we throw on? I don't really know. Like, I might not really need to think about it that much. Let's just throw on Taboo. Like, Cash Maniac, consistent plays throughout the year. Backdoor by Playboi Carti and Kendrick and Jhené Aiko. The Beat, crazy. Kendrick, VV's on the Décolleté, listen to it 100,000 times. And just like that first couple of week period, just really, really listen to that song. Though I have been bumping the Good Credit song lately, and I think that one is ultimately going to be the one that we like a little bit better from the two. It is a bit more playable in an aux setting. It's a little shorter as well, too. So you get through that Playboi Carti verse, and that Kendrick verse is a ton of fun. It is what it is. He carries the weight. He's Luka Doncic. I don't know if it's, Luka, maybe he's lost some of the weight, but still funny from a moment in time. All the Stars at 41. Untitled 08. We got to get some Untitled in the mix. Shout out. We had it there last year. We mentioned Poetic Justice. VCR, Vince Staples chat. We're a sucker for a little like Latin guitar on a beat. It is what it is. So Jid makes use of it here with Vince Staples, and they crush it on this track. We got a little Tupac, Me Against the World. We know this is an album that is going to be in rotation all the time. So shout out there. Had to Get It. Killer Mike, this sneaky little Michael and the Mighty Midnight Revival. Can I get the name of this right? Michael and the Mighty Midnight Revival, Song for Sinners and Saints. So we mentioned that we love that Michael album that won the Grammy. It's fantastic. This sort of like little post-album mixtape sort of ordeal continues a lot of those sort of gospel production type of vibes. And Killer Mike on that sound is great. I mean, he's great on anything, him on the Run the Jewels sound is great. But I think that's what's fun about it as well, too, is you just see him moving into these different phases. And it's like for him to pivot from that Run the Jewels sort of, we're going to be bumping this in the whip. This is like the aux banger type stuff, to a little bit more introspective, a little bit more personal, a little bit more, again, soulful sounding type stuff is a great move, and the quality of it is fantastic. Revolving Door by Tate McRae made the top 50. Tate McRae, shout out. I guess if there's going to be a pop artist that makes the list, that would make sense for sure. It is what it is. I guess I don't know if we spoil the list and scroll through and see who else is on here, but this is another one that I guess, can we call this a leg day Hall of Fame? I guess maybe for Tate McRae, but also for us listening to this song, take two. Also for us listening to this song while we're working out. This was one where we were like, ooh, this is kind of catchy. We might just have to play this on repeat a couple times. It is what it is. And that's, I can't, if I'm in the gym and a song plays and I'm like, this is like, what are you going to do? If the motivation is motivating, then you got to motivate. I don't know if that's the quote of the day, but it is what it is. That's the wisdom that we'll leave you with from the top 50. If the Tate McRae song is powering you through the workout, you gotta put it on repeat. So a couple of workouts, what do you know? It's in the top 50. It is what it is. King's Dead, some more Black Panther. We mentioned it's in the top 5. Peekaboo falls in here. Speaking of pianos and rap, Far Away, Lil Sims. This Drop 7 is a fun project. I don't know if we could talk you into listening to it, but if you're willing to give some experimental type stuff a try, it's not like crazy experimental, but there's just a little like funkiness with some of these first beats here. And then she just really kicks it, brings it home with a very, kind of chill, emotional, introspective track there. And again, those piano vibes were what we were going for. It is what it is. Had Enough, Don Toliver and Quavo and Offset. I don't remember if this song sampled Summer from the Carter's album made the top 100, but if the early indications from this year, any signs, it might next year. And the reason that, again, we were bumping this version of it is because we were, loving the beat, obviously, the Beyonce, Jay-Z, Mike Dean production. I believe that's Mike Dean from back then. I don't know. Who knows? But I would just assume it's good. It's Mike Dean. But yeah, that Beyonce, Jay-Z album beat is great. I mean, the original beat, Oh, it might be a little bit better. I mean, the original song might be a little bit better. Who knows? It's great. Obviously, get Beyonce on it, but because we're such, we were on such a Don Toliver kick this year. It's like, well, the Beyonce beat. We'll just like listen to Don Toliver this time. It is what it is. So shout out. He was you great on the hook on that, and that production is fun as well too. Rory from the Predator soundtrack. I guess this is just piano in soundtrack, not even piano in rap, but I'm pretty sure that this powered us through a couple workouts as well too. Again, you get the repeat factor as well. So I don't know if I was necessarily bumping this, throughout the day like I was, but you get it in the gym, a minute 32, you throw it on repeat a couple times, 6:53 chat. Lock it in right between Had Enough and Country Building Blues. A Kendrick Lamar deep cut, but absolutely worth the listen if you haven't given it yet. Did not make the Good Kid, Mad City album, but I mean, if it had, it would not have been a skip. That makes make no mistake. I mean, it's up there in terms of songs with that, from that era as well. The warm up, we got J. Cole on the Knock Knock production. One of the great beats. J. Cole. I guess this is our first J. Cole on the list, which is way lower than he would have been in any other year. But this as our number one from J. Cole makes a ton of sense. It's a little bit tough to be off of J. Cole this year once we got his albums on streaming. And Ayo, they updated the dates, I just realized. With the day that it was dropped, they used to have it just listed as 2024. But hey, shout out. That's kind of cool. So June 15th, 2009, the warm-up. It is what it is. I don't know if we save the hot takes for another day. But yeah, this is just that beat is a great beat. And obviously Cole is able to cruise over it. Freddie Gibbs, Ruthless. Freddie Gibbs on the 112 sample. The 112 sample going crazy. It is what it is. We got a little GDLU run here as well too with Nobu and Skate. So a couple of the R&B pop hits off the album, and then Bodies off of the Kiari album. Definitely one that we've continued to bump more and more. I don't think there's a lot of the Key Glock album on here as well, but both of those were interesting because we were definitely play those albums a little bit more sequentially than just like queuing up individual songs. Again, because of our amount of listening to JID this year as well too. We were queuing up this one a bunch as well. But those songs from those albums weren't able to get enough individual plays, unfortunately, to make it into the top 100 out of the other ones. Again, just like queuing them up outside of, because even if I'm again, if we're talking the top 100 songs specifically, obviously it could raise the listening minutes for Key Glock. So I would have liked to see where he would have been in our top 20 as well too. I'm pretty sure, again, who you're listening to, so we probably could guess to some degree what your own top 20 could be. Again, the order of the top 5 over the course of 12 months maybe surprises can surprise you a little bit, but in the Key Glock album specifically, like All Eyes on Key, the deluxe version of the Glockavelli album, is like 30 tracks. So I can listen to 30, I can listen to Bodies 30 times or any of these tracks 30 times, or listen to 30 different Key Glock tracks, and then each of them aren't, really getting the plays. So like, I don't know if you bite yourself in the top 100 potentials there as an artist, but at least for us personally, that's what was going on there with some of those projects. But yeah, and Skate as well too. This was a couple queue this one up a couple times, and maybe the number one like aux banger from this album. Again, you can't say aux banger, but maybe like social song that you would play at like a party, or I guess party track. You could say the number one party track from the album for sure. Or we playing Vince Staples here, shout out. Give Me a Hug, also our first Drake. So I mean, the Kendrick J. Cole, the beef chat. The Kendrick J. Cole beef. The Kendrick Drake beef has got J. Cole and Drake out of the top 50. Give Me a Hug though. Drake did get some new music, and this is definitely the best beat off the album, probably the best song off the album as well too. But like we said, we have enjoyed bumping CN Tower is a personal favorite for us off that album, and like Small Town Fame and Brian Steele are good beats as well too. But obviously Give Me a Hug is the staple. There's Nissan Altima as well too, so that completes the three track run from the Alligator Bites Never Heal that we were talking about. And it's a fun just walk to take as well too, because Prophet's such like an emotional cut, and Nissan Altima is such a, you know, a fun banger of a cut that you really do again get sort of a good scope of what she's capable of as an artist just over the course of 3 tracks. Blood on the Leaves, Kanye, I mean, you know, one of the classic hits. Here we go, Out of the Blue by Snoop and Missionary. This might have been a top 10 album for us, low-key, if we were to see a top 10, a full list there. I don't know if it would, you know, how high it would be going up there. We got Love Should Have Brought You Home Last Night. The Boomerang soundtrack is in full effect, chat. Shout out to Tony Braxton. You know, a fun one to listen to. With PYT at the 66 spot, another Thriller hit. And then then Night Fever. So I guess is PYT in a movie soundtrack, but a couple of movie soundtrack cuts here, and then, you know, just great 80s, 90s. Is this 70s? Is BG 70s? It might, I guess, Night Fever, Saturday Night Fever is the 70s. So yes, it is the 70s. So we got a full scope here of the decades, helping get that listening age up to 49. A little more Kanye on here with the Graduation. We were talking up that old trilogy though, and I think that's the first one from the old trilogy to pop up. Was Blood on the Leaves our number one yay from the year? That would be a little surprising, I guess, for me specifically. I guess I'm not surprised now seeing it, because I did listen to that one quite a bit, but, you know, you just never know what your actual number one, you never know what it is going to be, chat. So yeah, the Blood on the Leaves 1, The Glory 2, Gold Digger 3. Yep, that's a fun one, chat. It is what it is. Again, some more Me Against the World, Can You Get Away, iconic. She Used, No Worry, Anderson .Paak, the Wylard album. A beat that was used, again, we talked about how much we love Nas and that Hit Boy combo, a beat that they used, so, you know, a fresh take on that, and Anderson .Paak's vocals over it is unique, for sure, something that we loved, and, you know, a fun mix-up on that beat for this year. We love that production, so it's, some version of it being in our top 100 is definitely not surprising there. And then Shame, Freddie Gibbs, for sure, more Pinata, GNX landing in there. Okay, the original trilogy from Kanye as well. We get Backseat Freestyle and Swimming Pools. So we, as we finish out the rest of these albums, hey yo, in the top 100, Bruh by Denzel Curry and Jid is one of the more underrated cuts, maybe from the last, do I want to say the last 10 years? Because these are two of the most talented rappers that legitimately we have had in the last 10 years. And they're on a track together at some of their best rapping. They always bring it when they're on the same track, but because this wasn't on an album, maybe it got a little bit lost, and it might be their best track together. It's pretty fantastic. We got Paramedic off of the Black Panther album as well, too. I think I would listen to the intro of this song again enough just to get it up into the top 100, because Kendrick on the intro is fun on this one as well, too. He's just got that little opening bar, but, you know, he's always able to maximize his bars. Oh, the Tony Braxton album again in the mix, 81. Beyonce and Kendrick, another maybe underrated Kendrick verse. Just, you know, you don't hear it get brought up, you don't hear it played. But if you were out somewhere and somebody played this track, it would definitely hit well. I mean, Kendrick goes crazy on it. Beyonce snaps too, and it's just a great song. There's more Alligator Bites Never Heal, more Lana, Daytona, a little Pusha T as well too. We see a little variety of Pusha T. I guess we haven't seen any. What's the other album? Almost Dry in the mix. I don't remember if any of those songs made the top 100, but we do. And I guess Ye on a feature here as well too. You know, some Ye features helping get those minutes up. Some more Joey, some T.I. in the 87, 89 range. Again, Cole on the warm-up here as well too. Jid, Not Like Us at 92. I don't know if that's too low, but I feel like that's respectable. You know, in the top 100, but not overplayed. Definitely probably played it a lot toward the end of the year and not as much after that. We ended up with 2 Playboi Carti songs off of the music album versus the Weeknd album, but again, they were both Kendrick features, so it is what it is. Niagara Falls being our number 1 off of the Weeknd album as well too is a little surprising. Back-to-back tracks from Pena. 3 Freddie Gibbs tracks in a row, actually, to round out the top 100. The For Free interlude. Hey, yo, maybe one of the biggest sleepers in Kendrick's entire discography. Just the crazy jazzy instrumental and the fun just interlude skit. The interlude is pretty funny. I enjoy listening to it. He buy me no outfit for the fourth. Hey yo, we're just quoting over here. I didn't write it. I don't know what you want me to do, but I guess we're not like quoting it bad, but hey yo, what are we allowed to how are we allowed to say it these days is always a question. We're not trying to make anybody mad. We're just simply just quoting it, and that's how we quoted it at first. So it is what it is. But if we take two, maybe we do it differently. But Missed Education of Lauryn Hill at 99, and then Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers at 100 with Kendrick. So hey yo, shout out to everybody that was involved in making music in 2025. We enjoyed listening to it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed hanging out with us, reacting to our playlist. Hey yo, it is what it is. We did the fair thing though. We saved it for the end of the pod. It turned out to be maybe as always, pause a little bit. Well, I guess in terms of the episodes, hey yo, it is what it is. But we've got like we said, the Sunday live stream for the NFL Week 14, maybe Week 14, and then Sunday, Tuesday, Friday chat is the schedule. So you guys can follow the YouTube here to keep up. You can follow the podcast on the podcast feeds as well too. So shout out Spotify, Apple, all the different platforms. It is available on there. I mean, Spotify is our music app as well too. So I guess shout out to them for providing us for the music. Big corporate, we're out here shouting out big corporate Spotify. Hey yo, it is what it is. But yeah, we'll be back Sunday chat, week 14 of the NFL season. We thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. And of course, you can always send us a little message over at REMINGTOM Pod on Instagram if you want to DM us over there as well too. But go enjoy your weekend, have fun, and we will see y'all Sunday for hanging out watching NFL games. And I know, chat, hey yo, at the end of the day, it's Glow Blue here in the college football world, the college sports world, on the, well, I guess, not the REMINGTOM Pod in full. Pause, because, I guess, well, the Jayhawks also wear blue as well, the Kansas Jayhawks. So if Sam says go blue, he could say the Kansas Jayhawks there and say go blue. But, hey, yo, we knew if we say go blue, you know who we're talking about. It is what it is. So, obviously, because, of Big Blue, Indiana better get him, chat. Indiana better get Ohio State. It is what it is. Hopefully we come back on Sunday. Indiana's the Big Ten champions. I don't know if we've ever said that before, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens in a couple hours. Hey, yo, chat.